But I think the development of full artificial intelligence will spell the end of the human race.
It's a flying object and we don't know what it is. I would hope somebody is checking it out.
I don't know if it was a rocket or whatever, but it cleared to be fast, opposite direction. It was too fast to be an airplane.
I'm glad the Pentagon is looking at this, because if it poses a threat, I want them on top of it.
Well, the craft generates its own gravitational field.
You said there's lights in the sky?
The internet has become the command center for criminals and terrorists.
911, what's your emergency? I need help, please, please help!
Aliens won't let it happen. You know, that's what we're instructed to say.
Roswell, Area 51. Alien kept deep under the ground.
Doesn't have your best interest in mind. The government is self-serving. You're here for a reason. You're listening to Troubled Minds Radio. Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This is the show where we get together and talk about all the things we're not allowed to talk about. We do it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific. And what are those things, you may ask? That's right. Aliens, conspiracy, the paranormal, the government, academia, the 24-hour news cycle, propaganda, and the general feeling that we live in the upside down. These shows are always live. They've always been live. They will always be live because it's a two-way conversation, and that's how things get done. You talk to people, and that's what this show's always been about. It's about getting together. It's about bringing together like minds. It's about being a concerned citizen. It's about all of those things combined into one, and it's about telling ghost stories on the internet. That's what my detractors would say, and I don't give a damn. We're going to do it anyway because it's a lot of fun, and we do need to stretch our imaginations from time to time. Given, of course, the state of reality as it is, and I don't need to tell you, and all the rest of that, you guys can make up your own state of reality, as we've talked about quite a bit, or you can buy into the mainstream's state of reality, which, of course, is fear, 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 fear all the time, and that's really not what this is about. We're getting together. This is called Troubled Minds for a reason, meaning that we're taking the term back. It doesn't mean mentally deficient or anything like that. It means we're concerned. It means there are things out there to be concerned about that the rest of the world hasn't really caught up on yet, and I think that's what part of this conversation is. And as you know, it's an open-ended conversation. It's non-linear, meaning that sometimes we tell stories, sometimes we don't, and it just goes all over the place. These conversations range far and wide, and kind of we get a little time for you to take it where you want to take it. And so that's what's up. And so that's the long-winded way of me saying that we are live and we have an open phone line because we're streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and of course Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And if you want to be part of the show tonight, give us a call at any point. Just dial The phone number, of course, the first couple hours will be on Fringe, which means we have commercial breaks at the top and bottom of the hour. So avoid those. The 5 minutes after, like 8:05, 7:05, 7:35, etc. And your calls, just time them just appropriately, and we'll give you plenty of time to kind of think outside the box, to think to kind of like I always say, it's interesting when your mouth starts moving, your brain, at least for me, my brain starts working kind of in double time. Because I have to catch up, right? I have to stay ahead of my mouth because it's easy to say something without thinking about it, and that's what's going on. So, again, 702-957-1037. You can find the phone number and the Discord link always at troubledminds.org. That's the official website. And you can just click the Discord link. Discord is a chat client. It's a voice client. It's about all. It's a fantastic program. Like I said, we always talk about it because it's a great way for people to communicate. And like I said, this show has always been about just people talking to each other without editing, without a quick sound clip of a 20-minute statement you wanted to make, things like this, right? Like the dishonest media, we try and be the opposite of that and just let you talk, just get together and let people hear you and inspire each other and look to the future for good things for humanity, not this great reset and all this other garbage they're trying to stuff down our throat. So once again, join the Discord at troubledminds.org. Meet lots of swell people there. Also, we have another Discord chat room running. It's the same program. It's free. If you've got an internet connection, join the fringe.fm/chat. Is that what it is? I think it's fringe.fm/chat. For some reason, I couldn't remember. Okay, but I think I got it. I think that's it. Fringe.fm/chat. Okay, and you'll get a direct invite. So what we're going to do tonight, as usual, of course, take your phone calls and talk about some weirdness tonight. But you know me. I'm always watching news cycles. I'm always taking feedback on shows. I'm always, if you guys want to hear about particular things, get in that Discord and share the links. Put some stuff in there. There's a lot of shows we've done because of information that you guys have put to me. And I said, wow, that's amazing. I haven't heard of that before. So let's talk about it. And as you know, with me, I'm not an expert. I don't talk about this stuff with any kind of intimate knowledge. I try and catch up and do as much reading as I can. I do read fairly quickly, but not like speed read style. I couldn't win any competitions or anything. But I do my best to catch up and educate myself enough to at least talk about it in general terms here on the show. And I had to do that tonight. I had to do that because this particular topic is really outside of my normal what would you say, my normal realm of understanding, because it's a part of history that us Yanks, us folks over here in the United States, the Yankees as they were called, oddly enough, as the Yankees are losing in the wild card game to the Boston Red Sox. And to be honest, that's your sports update, and that's all we're going to talk about sports, just because it's a weird synchronicity. But I do hope both the Yankees and the Red Sox lose tonight, if that's possible. Let's manifest that into possibility, please. Okay, so that's what's going on, and so we're looking back in time here and telling a story. All right, this isn't my story. This is a story from history, and it's a story from secret societies. It's a story from blood magic and ritual. It's a story about crystal balls and speaking to angels. It's a story that goes back to the late 1500s and the court of Queen Elizabeth I, the Virgin Queen, as they call her, and the pinnacle of the Renaissance, and a golden period in the United Kingdom, England, as it were, back then. And so basically, I don't know a ton about that period in history. I do know that Queen Elizabeth I was the last in the line of the Tudors, which of course is Anne Boleyn, infamy, and Henry VIII, and that there was a lot of shenanigans happening back in the Elizabethan period, as they call it, and we're talking about like the late 1500s, 1590, 1585, somewhere in that range. And there's some weirdness here because this is, of course, the dawn of the British Empire, as it were, and there's some strange things that people have claimed regarding a court confidant by the name of John Dee. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But it is said that this John Dee fellow has done all kinds of things. He was into alchemy. He was into blood magic. He was into the spy game. He was a spy for Elizabeth I, they say. And there's a lot to this. And the story goes deep. And the more I kept digging, the more the story seemed... deep. The depths of the story just continue. And so as we found this, like I said, and the reason I say you can join and share information on Discord is because shout out to our good buddy, the Night Stalker out there, Derek in Massachusetts. He's the one who sent me this article. He's the one who sent me this link, and he sent it last week, actually. And I didn't jump on this immediately, though I thought it was an amazing story, an amazing topic to talk about. But it took me a little bit to catch up because it's talking about characters I didn't know a ton about. Because like I say, us Yanks over here, us Yankees, we were taught the best thing about the British Empire and the United Kingdom and England in general happened in 1776. So I don't need to explain to everybody what that was or how that went down. It's been well documented. Let's just say, we won't go there tonight. But okay, so that's what's happening, and it's this weirdness. Now, okay, let's go to this article again. Derek in Massachusetts says, "Go Sox." Okay, I'm going to say I hope they both lose tonight. But we're going to go to this, all right? We're going to go to this. I just can't stand those baseball teams. I'm sorry. I'm a West Coast guy. We can't stand that there's a West Coast bias, East Coast bias. Anyway, all right, so let's go with this. This is bigthink.com. And this is the topic of the show tonight, and it's strange. It's strange in many ways, and it starts like this. The headline reads, "Did dark magic conjure up the British Empire?" And, okay, esoteric evidence points to a ritual performed by Queen Elizabeth's court magician, John Dee. John Dee. Such a seemingly innocuous name. John Dee seems like a swell fellow. However, that doesn't seem to be the case. There's a lot here with this. We'll get into John Dee in just a second, read some of this article. And I want a quick shout out to Rivers, actually, who set me straight on some of the John Dee stuff last night. I appreciate your insight and giving me some information here that I didn't know. Like I said, you can teach old dogs new tricks, as it were. And I'm always trying to learn and always trying to hear things from great people. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Rivers, for pointing out some things we're going to talk about tonight regarding England, the history, Elizabeth I, John Dee, and how this story goes. So here we go. Let's rock this down. Again, straight from the article here on bigthink.com. It says this: "An unremarkable stone circle in Mudchute Park is said to have a wild and dark history. Legend has it that this is where John Dee used magic to conjure up the British Empire. As incredible as that sounds, local geography provides some circumstantial evidence." And we're not going to go through this entire article. There's some good stuff in here and some great links, and there's some great folks who have done some work on this with the history and some of this information. But as we get into this tonight, I got some questions, of course, as always, right? This is not the answer show. This is the question show, and we're here to ask questions. And so the questions tonight is, I want to consider this. Is it possible to actually create something as significant and widespread as the British Empire using dark magic? Blood magic, summoning demons, things like this. Do you think it's a thing? Do you think it's even possible? So that's the first, right? What about this ritual incantation stuff? Do you think that, let's say this is the case, all right? Let's say this really happened and John Dee summoned a demon or sacrificed this individual, which we'll get to in a little bit, and created this, the British Empire as we know it, as history knows it. And of course, many terrible things have been said about the British Empire. I'm not going to go into that and geopolitics of the time because, well, it's just, it's like, like you would expect. The geopolitics of like the Renaissance or Middle Ages or any of the rest of that is very, let's say, bloody. Bloody is a good word. Bloody, very much like today. Odd how some things never change. But okay, so that's the question tonight. So do you think it's possible through ritual in one way or another to actually summon in something as significant and world-changing as the British Empire? And I guess we can take this in different ways. We were talking, again, we get together after the show sometimes and just talk on the Discord, which is another reason why you should join the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, because sometimes after the show, we just get together, some folks who are listening, some folks who are friends of the show, some of the people who've called in, some people who don't really call in but like to chat afterward, and just come say hi. Click the Discord, get in here and talk. And we were talking maybe 3 weeks ago, I can't remember exactly the time, but Derek, again in Massachusetts, the Night Stalker, he said that he thought the United States itself, 1776 and that whole thing, was a big ritual. And so I was intrigued by the idea and got some information from him about that. And that's for another show. That's another thing entirely. But you would expect, if it's possible, in this case, that John Dee, the Queen Elizabeth's court magician, was able to, through dark magic, demon summoning, or even blood sacrifice, conjure up the British Empire, that you would think something like this would be able to actually happen elsewhere, all right, elsewhere in the world. Maybe the United States, they've called it New Babylon, they've called it the New Roman Empire. Depends on who you talk to, depends on who you ask. But maybe, right? Again, as you know, I'm not trying to give anybody information. Like I said, I have no inside information other than what you can read on the internet. And as I always say, our secret weapon in this show is you. Because again, like I said, I'm going to talk about some stuff tonight that I learned from Rivers. I learned from the Night Stalker. I learned from, again, as we have these conversations, we're always learning. And yeah, so you tell me. Back to the questions tonight. Is this: do you think it's possible to actually, through some sort of magic, conjure up something as gigantic, as world-changing as the British Empire? And if so, what does that entail? And it's okay, like I said, maybe juice and all that stuff. If you think this is all a bunch of BS, that's cool. We're here to talk about that stuff and consider the possibilities here. So let's get into the rest of this story. I thought it was very interesting that, something as great as the British Empire, I'll say great as in large, not great as in great, because I know it's split. So many people either love or hate the British Empire, and I'll just leave it at that. Here we go. Straight from the article from bigthink.com. The British Empire was not founded. It was conjured up by John Dee, Queen Elizabeth I's court magician. There are two versions of the tale. Either Dee summoned a demon, or he sacrificed Christopher Marlowe, the famous playwright, in a blood ritual. Now, Christopher Marlowe, of course, again, I didn't know any of this. I had to do tons of quick read research to kind of catch myself up. Christopher Marlowe was actually the one of the famous iambic pentameter types. If you recall this Shakespearean stuff, he was, they say, the most notable playwright pre-Shakespeare in Europe at the time. And he figures into this tale not just as a prominent and famous playwright, well, as a possible blood sacrifice. A possible blood sacrifice. I laugh because it's not funny. Like I said, that seems sketchy. So that's where we're going to start tonight. And those are the questions. I don't know. Do you guys believe in this stuff at all? I think the weirdness of this, as we've talked about this, is the weird stuff from. Let's see. What's going on here? Let's see. Okay. All right. Just checking the chat, making sure everything's good. Okay. So I don't know. Is this the case? Can this happen? And what do you think about magic in general? If the occultist elites believe in this stuff and are, as we've talked about in modern day, even doing some occult rituals now, which we've seen this stuff happen on, Ryan Gable does the Super Bowl show every post show on the radio with Clyde Lewis every year, talking about the esoteric symbolism that's happening in the Super Bowl halftime show. And there's a lot of it, right? There's a lot of occult symbolism going on. And some people have suggested that it's a very large ritual meant to be seen and kind of broadcast to millions of people in particular to bring about something, right? You tell me. And that's the question. Do you think that that's a real thing? Occult ritual, widespread, to kind of get it out there into the ether and on the eyeballs of people through a television set. And yeah, I don't know, like this. That's what's on my mind tonight. 702-957-1037. Love to have your thoughts on this. And as we consider the possibilities of conjuring the British Empire through blood magic or summoning a demon or something else. So let's keep on trucking. Straight from the article here. So Marlowe, we'll get to him and his untimely death. It's actually chronicled how he died, except, well, if we're talking conspiracy, there's always an official story, isn't there? And so this is what leads us here. So anyway, so the two versions of the tale: either John Dee summoned a demon, or he sacrificed Christopher Marlowe, a famous playwright, in a blood ritual. Obviously, the tale is apocryphal. There is no evidence except the very circumstantial, the article reads. If the Marlowe version is to be believed, the dark magic ritual must have been performed at the end of May 1593, which of course is when Marlowe actually passed away. That is when official history says that the playwright met a violent end in a tavern brawl in Deptford, just south of the Thames in the east of London. Now, these areas here that we're talking about, of course, are London. I mean, this is history. This is a lot of dirty shenanigans have gone down in London itself over the years. And in particular, we're talking about this little park. If you guys have ever been here, it's just basically, I had to look at maps and all this stuff because I'm not familiar with London at all, but just about a 15-minute drive to the southeast of the tower itself, the Queen's Tower, is this little park called Mudchute Park. And I checked, I even double-checked on this stuff and was like, okay, here's what we're looking at if you want to look at the map. From the Tower of London, it's just about a 15-minute drive to Mudchute Park and Farm. You can see it on the map here. If everybody's checking this out, there you go. Like I said, I'm not familiar with London, so I had to double-check here. Now, there's some interesting things about this, is that they said this ritual took place on the Isle of Dogs. All right, which is down here on the bottom right. You can see the Isle of Dogs, which I've highlighted on the map, and that's where the blood ritual supposedly took place, with John Dee summoning in the British Empire. All right, now over here on the left, that is the Tower of London, okay? Famed place where tons of stuff went down, where they beheaded Anne Boleyn, and all the rest of that at the beginning of the Tudor reign. And, well, that's, there you go. Now you know about what I know about English history, sorry. That's about all I know. But at least during this time period, apparently there's a lot of shenanigans going on. But this is a dark period in history, not just because, like we said, it is the Elizabethan period, which is known as an actual time of prosperity in England. But there was some shenanigans, always political shenanigans. The Protestants, Queen Elizabeth I was a Protestant who had the throne, and they were trying to get her murdered, taken off the throne and replaced with a Catholic. So it was one of those times in history where it was very contentious, even though they call it a golden period in English history. And so there was shenanigans, conspiracies, murders, and all kinds of stuff. So like I said, if you guys know a little bit more about this, I know we have lots of fine folks in the United Kingdom or England that actually know probably a lot more about this than I do, and I'd love to hear from you tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. And so I did look. Now here, check this out. I pulled this map up. And this is Mudchute Park itself, right on a satellite photograph. And you can see right there, by zooming in to Mudchute Park, you can actually see the supposed stone circle where this blood ritual actually took place. You can find it right there on satellite images, and it does exist. Okay, all right, and that's going to get us started tonight. We're going to keep on talking about this, considering this, talking about the players involved in Elizabethan England, again at the end of the 1500s, 1585-ish onward, and John Dee summoning in the British Empire with dark magic as of about 1590, what is it, 1593, I believe is the date. And the end of May 1593. And that's what's going on. That's what's on my mind tonight. And I hope you dig this type of thing. I hope you dig this story. I thought it was fascinating as hell. And that's why, well, we're going to talk about it. So this is, again, so that's the question tonight. Many questions. Do you think this is even possible? If so, what kind of thing you think is necessary? Is it even a thing to summon demons or create blood magic to bring about changes in world politics, geopolitics, as it were? Those are the questions on my mind tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll put you on the show. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More after the break. Welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, DLive, YouTube, and Twitter. And we are broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. Tonight, we're discussing the story that John Dee summoned in the British Empire through blood magic. What do you think about this? If you want to be part of the show, love to hear your take. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And we'll get going talking about more of this. Now, the crazy part about this is, well, there's many things. There are many things crazy about this story. And we'll go into a little bit more here to kind of get down to the meat and potatoes of this. But it is interesting, like I said, that it's one thing when you find a crazy story on the internet. Again, shout out to Derek in Massachusetts for pointing this out to me. I thought this was an amazing story. But then I was actually able to verify these places and look on not Google Maps, as it were. I'm not sure if this is Apple Maps or whatever it was, but you can actually go to this park and look it up right here, and you can see it right there on the screen that there is actually in this park named, let's see, what is the name of this park? Mudchute Park. Again, just to the southeast of the about 15-minute drive of the Tower of London. There is this park where you can zoom in and actually on the satellite photograph see this stone circle that is nondescript. It's literally like a concrete stone and just a little circle with no signpost, no anything. It's just, well, local legend has it that this is the spot that John Dee either sacrificed playwright, let's see, get this name correct before I butcher it, Christopher Marlowe, or actually summoned a demon, and in the course of actually summoning in the British Empire with and so this John Dee guy, like, okay, so we'll get into a little bit more of this, but John Dee in particular is a pretty infamous guy in these esoteric circles. He was kind of at the end of that Renaissance period where science hadn't really taken hold yet. With, I believe it was the next century actually brought in, I think it was Sir Isaac Newton and some of this other stuff that kind of brought science to the forefront. But he was John Dee was in a place here where science and magic were actually sort of commingling in that alchemy sort of territory, and he was infamous for communicating with angels. He's got his crystal ball actually in the UK Museum, which I've got a picture here, which we'll get to. But there's a lot here. And so this guy was kind of at the forefront of that magic and alchemy and science, kind of as it came together, and the scientific process hadn't really been properly developed and all the rest of this stuff just quite yet. And so as a result, well, we have blood magic. Hey, when you can't get science, you may as well do some blood magic. Am I right? I mean, I'm just kidding. I don't recommend that. Please don't do that. But okay, here we go. So that is what the official history says. The playwright met a violent end in a tavern brawl in Deptford. Okay, again, so there is no evidence of this except for circumstantial, and the story goes like this: either John Dee summoned a demon in this particular part. You can see what the stone circle actually looks like in a closer photograph right there on the stream if you guys are watching. It's nondescript. It's literally like a little stone circle in like a grass field, and the grass inside the circle, oddly enough, in this photograph is like browned out. It's like they don't water it, or like something doesn't grow there. Right? But then all the grass around this stone circle is green, which is strange, right? That is strangeness here. Okay, so here we go. So again, the what's his name here? Christopher Marlowe, again, the Shakespeare before Shakespeare, or as River said, the rumor is he may have been Shakespeare himself after he faked his death. So we've got conspiracy on top of conspiracy here. So anyway, point being this. So this is what the official history says about the playwright. And so at the end of May 1593, this is when John Dee actually gave us this ritual that ushered in the British Empire. And here we go. So we also have a place. Stubborn rumor has it that the conjuring was done on the Isle of Dogs, just north of the Thames in the east of London. The exact spot is allegedly marked by a mysterious stone circle tucked away near an elder grove in the northwest corner of Mudchute Park. And that's exactly how I found it in the satellite photos. There is just from that description, I just found Mudchute Park, zoomed in to the northwest corner, and sure as you would believe it, right there on the satellite images, you can see the stone circle from the satellite. Can you believe that? Yeah, I thought that was pretty amazing. I'm like, okay, verified. This may be real. Anyway, okay, so the individual that wrote this article on Big Think is named Frank Jacobs, and he says that he visited the spot years ago, but going by recent pictures, the location is as unremarkable now as it was then. There is neither a signpost pointing to the circle nor any explanation as to why it's there. It's just there. Only when you start researching some of the more esoteric aspects of local geography and folklore do the pieces fall into place. All right, so there you go. There's the premise tonight, and I think there's a lot to this. Like I said, this story goes deep, and the more you dig, the more players are involved. We're talking about history here. And so you have, again, conspiracies with the Protestants and the Catholics. We have Queen Elizabeth on the throne, who's a Protestant, which is a big deal back then. You've got, it was illegal at the time, by the way, to be an atheist. You had to actually be a religious person, or it was illegal and punishable by death, which we'll get to in a little bit as well. And so that's the strangeness of this time. It seems like, again, that pre-science period where maybe science commingled with alchemy and esoteric ideas and again, summoning demons. What's up? Mad AM says, my guess, a portal opening. It seems like it, right? It seems like, and again, right? So oddly enough, this photograph that we're looking at, it's the stone circle, and it looks like maybe 10 feet across. It's not really that big, 3 meters or so. And you have brown grass in the middle of this stone circle, but all the grass around it is green. It's almost like things don't want to grow there. I think that's a little bit terrifying, if you ask me. But here we go. So Christopher Marlowe, this is the guy, again, the playwright. He was surpassed only by his exact contemporary, William Shakespeare. And as River said, the rumors are that maybe this guy was Shakespeare and his death was faked. So anyway, a few months the elder, Marlowe was usually the leader, although Shakespeare was able to bring his art to a higher perfection. Most dramatic poets of the 16th century followed where Marlowe had led, especially in their use of language and the blank verse line, which the blank verse line is, again, go back to English class, iambic pentameter, which means non-rhyming, I don't know, don't make me explain more because it'll just confuse me, but very much in the Shakespeare style. Shakespeare basically took this guy and then standing on the shoulders of giants, wrote some better stuff. So there we go. So that's who this individual was, Christopher Marlowe, and why he was a notable figure at the time. And so his death basically marks this beginning, magically, of the British Empire. And I think that's why I couldn't find anything else. I couldn't find anything that actually maybe corroborated this rumor of the blood sacrifice of Christopher Marlowe by John Dee back in 1593. But there is the one source that we started with, and that's the connection there. However, if you take that and you just throw it out and say, okay, well, there was no blood sacrifice of Christopher Marlowe, which actually, before we do that, let's get to his death here. It's been been well chronicled, right? His death, of what actually happened. Let's see, where is it here? Where is it? No, not that one. Oh, there's John Dee's crystal ball, by the way. I'll show that out on the stream in a little bit here. Let's see. Okay. I'll have to find it. In any case, it wasn't a tavern brawl, as they said. It was friends that kind of meet at a household where they serve food and drink, which was not really a tavern per se. It was kind of the shorthand version of the tavern brawl. But I guess they were eating and drinking all day with this Christopher Marlowe and his friends back in May of 1593. And it turned out that there was an argument over possibly who was going to pay the bill, and the argument escalated between these three individuals. And they say that Christopher Marlowe himself pulled a dagger, a dirk as it were, out of his sleeve and tried to stab one of the individuals about paying the bill during this argument. And so during the argument, he stabs and misses, and the other guy, of course, defends himself. And, well, you know what happens sometimes when people have to defend themselves? Yeah, unfortunately, people die. And so, that's the case. They say that the guy either had his own dirk or was able to wrestle away the dirk or dagger from Christopher Marlowe and stab him in his eye. Okay? And so that is how the death of Christopher Marlowe officially went down. That's the official story here. So like I said, who knows if this was actually the case with John Dee, with the blood magic conjuring in the British Empire. But again, let's just throw that out. Let's just throw out the Christopher Marlowe stuff and say, okay, maybe that was a coincidence. Like Rivers has suggested, maybe he was the original Shakespeare and his death was actually a conspiracy to become somebody else, a new pen name or whatever, what have you, one of the most famous writers of all time at this point. But then let's just throw that part out and say there was no blood sacrifice. But let's say the other take is this, that John Dee, again, the court magician of Queen Elizabeth I, actually summoned a demon right here in Mudchute Park, right there just to the southeast of the Tower of London. And, well, then what? I don't know. And that's where there's a lot of this. Like I said, there's a ton of reading that kind of goes into this story, and there's a lot of moving pieces and players here. But back to the original question tonight. Do you think it's even possible, using any sort of magic, to conjure up something as large as the British Empire? As maybe Derek has suggested, is it also possible that the United States itself is some sort of gigantic ritual? With the Freemasonry in Washington, D.C., and that esotericness that's going on over there. If you look at the streets and all there's some weirdness, right? There's some weirdness the way they designed Washington, D.C. So I don't know. What do you guys think? I guess that's the question tonight. Do you believe that this ritual stuff even works? Do you think it's possible? Or do you think that the elites and the occultists and, let's say the Epsteins of the world, those types, if you know what I mean, that they actually are able to use these spells, as it were, use these rituals to do things. Not just things, not small things, very large, notable things, like changing the structure of the world. And that's what we're talking about tonight. Kind of go back to the... there you go. Derek's going to call in, go on break, top of the hour. Sweet. Looking forward to it. So I think that's the thing here, is that do you believe this is possible, guys? Do you believe that dark magic or any magic whatsoever is a possible thing to summon in changes to geopolitics on such a scale that it changes the history of the world? That's the question tonight. Because they've said John Dee was able to do that and summon in the British Empire. And again, like I said, we're, us on this show, we're just kind of drinking the maybe juice and talking about the possibilities here. And there's some fine folks that have done some interesting, research on this. Like I said, I did read a whole bunch on this, so I know a ton more than I did when we started, which is why it was delayed. We were going to do this show last week, but I had to read more because I just wanted to at least know what I was talking about on a basic level. But I think we got there. So, okay, so again, looking to hear from you guys. What do you think? What's up? Mystic Skywatcher says it works. Yes, it is deeper than most people realize. Blood, sex, magic, really. And so that's the thing. Is that your take, guys? You believe this, or do you believe it's not a thing at all? Like I said, I'm open to all the possibilities here, and that's why we do this in the format we do. So if you want to be part of the show, please give us a call at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037, and we'll put you on the show. We'll have Derek Derek at the top of the hour. Appreciate that. He did share the article with me. And I don't know. There's like I said, there's a lot here. It goes pretty deep. It goes pretty deep. But let's keep on going. Let's keep on going. If we aren't going to get any calls, I know the story is good, and you want to get to the conclusion. Well, there's no conclusion. We know history. The British Empire. They call it. What do they call the British Empire? I pulled this up because I knew I'd forget. It's actually the what do they call this? They call it the empire on which the sun never sets. And that's what most people have heard, is that it was so vast. The British Empire was composed of the dominions, colonies, proctorates, mandates, and other territories ruled or administered by the United Kingdom and its predecessor states. It began with the overseas possessions and trading posts established by England between the late 16th and early 18th centuries. Interesting, the late 16th century, that's what we're talking about here. And at its height, it was the largest empire in history, and for over a century was the foremost global power. And of course, at its peak of power, it was described as the empire in which the sun never sets, as the sun was always shining on at least one of its territories. And so that's what this is about. Back to the premise here. Did John Dee, who of course was the Queen Elizabeth's court magician, summon in the British Empire? Through blood magic, through ritual, through, again, maybe summoning a demon. And again, we have maybe the exact spot verified through satellite maps that this may have been a thing. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know whether I should believe this. I don't know whether I should believe it's even possible. And that's the question for you tonight. Do you think that this is something? Think of it this way, right? In terms of summoning anything to bring about worldwide changes in such a major way as we're describing here with the British Empire, don't you think if it worked once, it would work again? And if it did, don't you think the elites, as it were, would be continually trying to do this? That's what it seems like to me. And we talked about it in the past, sort of this weirdness of, I believe Rohan, our friend Rohan, when he called into the show, said this. And this is very notable in this conversation. Either this stuff is real and the elites are doing some wild stuff, or it's not real at all and the elites believe some wild stuff. And they're trying to do it anyway. So the question is, which is more strange? Which is more strange? And that's what's on my mind tonight. Do you guys want to be part of the show? Love to hear your take on this. Do you believe it's real? And again, John Dee, here we go. There's a lot on John Dee. You can check this dude out, and there's an unbelievable amount of information on this guy. And here we go. This is another article from New Dawn magazine, and it says, yes, at last, the true purpose of John Dee's invention of the British Empire, previously hidden, can now be revealed. Conventional wisdom holds that he was responsible for naming that empire, which became identified with the progressive Protestant mission to bring enlightenment to a benighted world. However, that picture is the complacent result of intervening centuries of imperial history, etc., so on. This is more of the historical take on this and John Dee. But again, John Dee, like everybody knows in modern times, right? Everybody knows the name Aleister Crowley. All right. Well, John Dee actually was as infamous in his time as Crowley was in his. And there's a lot of things here. Like they've got, again, this is in the British Museum. They have an actual photograph, not a photograph. Here's the photograph, though, of the actual crystal ball said to have been used by John Dee himself. And he was actually known for summoning, and not summoning, but being able to commune with angels through this particular crystal ball. If you're looking at the thing, it looks like a nondescript, kind of just slightly charcoal crystal ball on a nice little stand here, and it is actually housed in the British Museum currently. So you can actually go see this, and in right now, it's a real thing. So I guess that's the question again. Like I said, and here's the thing that's weird to me too. When you talk about communing or communicating with angels in some capacity, I get suspicious. Not just because, one, I don't know if I even understand, right, that whole thing, but I do get suspicious in the fact that that there's, what if you weren't actually communicating with angels themselves? What if you were communicating with something that told you they were an angel. All right. And I think that's part of the issue here when I hear people say, yeah, I summoned the thing and it was really kind and benevolent. And, because of course a trickster spirit of sorts, a demon, if you believe in those sort of things, would actually appear that way. Wouldn't he or she or it? And so I don't know. I think that's the weirdness to this when you say, well, I've been communicating with angels. Okay. Cool story, bro. But yeah, I don't know. Like this is the actual, again, the crystal ball. I've got all these links if you guys want to check it out. But you tell me what's going on here. Do you think this ritual stuff is so powerful that it would be able to change the course of world history? That's the question tonight. That is the bottom line here. And I don't know. I don't know what to believe, because if this is true, then like I said, they wouldn't have done it once, would they? They would have done it many times, multiple times. And maybe once they figure out the trick on what to do and how to do this, maybe that's what got us here. I always talk about living in the upside down and things don't seem correct. It seems like, our politicians, as it were, seems like they don't give a damn about the people at all. There's a lot to this, isn't there? I don't want to bring Brexit into the equation, but clearly there's a whole lot of upside downery going on over there as well, especially with my English friends. I don't want to piss anybody off. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I don't know. This blood magic stuff, conjuring in an entire empire, seems far-fetched, seems out there, seems wild. And pretty good stuff. Here we go. So there we go. So literally the stone circle sits on a line that... Now here's the weird part. Here's another weird part we'll add to this that we can add to the conversation tonight. This stone circle, as you saw, I pulled up the actual image from the satellite, and it is there at Mudchute Park, right there, again, just southeast of the... I keep forgetting the name of it. The Tower of London. The Tower of... Just southeast is this Mudchute Park, and you can pull up and actually find this stone circle, which, again, if you look at it here, it also appears that there's brown grass growing in it on the satellite images. Okay, but here's the thing. So not only is it strange like this particular spot... You guessed it, is the stone circle sits on a line that connects a great number of locations of special significance. The spot is a special spot. According to some, that makes it the omphalos, the Greek for navel. Of course, like a navel orange or the navel that's in your belly. That navel, not like a naval armada sort of thing. Navel. And oddly enough, a ley line crosses directly through this park, straight through the Tower of London, and of course further up into England in some other notable spots. That's why I was pulling up maps and looking at this. But yeah, weirdness going on here, right? So here we go. So in that ley line, the term for a straight line between prominent landmarks infused with an energy of some sort, intersects rather curiously with another one, which links the two major buildings by Sir Christopher Wren. Does all this add up to proof of John Dee's ritual? It is a pertinent question, but it gets in a way of a more interesting one. It's a good story. This is a hell of a story. And so I guess, like I said, there's a lot here. We'll get into more of this and some of the specifics and who John Dee is. And again, the Elizabethan period. Like I said, it was illegal to be an atheist at the time. We'll get into the rest of that and some secret societies that were actually maybe part of this. So you tell me, do you believe that a ritual could be so powerful that it could change the course of world events, including bringing about, conjuring in something so large and magnificent? I'll just say magnificent because why not? As the British Empire itself. So you tell me. That's what's on my mind tonight. And like I said, there's a lot here. I don't know a ton about English history, so you'll have to forgive me there. I did do my best in catching up and reading a whole bunch of stuff to refresh some of the stuff I learned as a young man in history classes and all that stuff. But it is better if you help. So I think that really lines up the story here and gives you an idea of what we're talking about. So I'd love to hear from you. If you want to be part of the show tonight, I'd love to hear your take on this, and you can reach us at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. And that's the question. What about dark rituals? What about ritual magic? Do you think it is powerful, or do you think it's nothing at all, a figment of our imagination? And if it's one of those things, or both of those things, or a combination thereof, what do you believe? Could it be powerful enough to change the course of world history? And did John Dee in 1593, through blood magic ritual, summon in the British Empire? One more time, looking to hear from you. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds. I'm Michael Strange. Don't go anywhere. More ritual magic, the British Empire, and you after the break. We are talking about the alien abduction phenomenon.
The aliens are looking through your eyes and they're accessing your optic nerve. I'm doing fantastic. Through that optic nerve, they're transferring to your brain. People are random images as they traverse neurons in the brain.
So all right. So maybe,
and they also feel them planting.
Broadcasting live from a secret bunker just off the extraterrestrial highway. Somewhere in the desert sands outside of Las Vegas. From somewhere in space-time, loosely labeled Generation X on planet Earth. And asking questions of you in earnest into the digital darkness.
all right. Good evening and welcome to Troubled Minds Radio. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and hello to all of you who may also have troubled minds. This show is live. If you want to be part of the show tonight, the number to call, 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. We are streaming on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Twitter, and we're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we are talking about the possibility of summoning in something as large and significant historically as the British Empire. A story goes a little something like this. John Dee was Queen Elizabeth's court magician, and through blood ritual magic and possibly summoning a demon in a particular area just southeast of the Tower of London. Well, the story goes that his magic brought about the largest empire the world has ever known, which, of course, is known as the British Empire. And like they say, it is the empire in which the sun never sets. And right around the time of this ritual thing happening was 1593. And we've got an actual satellite photograph of this particular park where there's a stone circle and where this ritual supposedly happened. And do you think this is possible? That's the story tonight. That's the conversation. And do you believe this could be real? And that's what's on my mind. So love to hear your take on this and what's going on. And let's go to our good friend Derek in Massachusetts. Go Sox. Welcome the Night Stalker to the show. How are you, my friend?
Go Sox, brother. Are they winning? I'm at work, so I don't even know.
Yeah, it's 6-1, 8th inning. You're good.
Oh, nice. There you go. Yeah, so I got some thoughts on this. I don't really know that much about Britain or John Dee either. I didn't know about the Marlowe killing and all that kind of stuff. I just skimmed the article before I sent it to you, and basically just figured out what a good caption would be for the page and stuff. But other than that, today, I saw the link that you posted it again during the after show that I missed. So I figured, it's tonight the John Dee night. So before work, I did listen to some stuff to try to get some threads, and I'll try to just rattle them off real quick. I'm on my break, so I gotta kind of be a little bit quick.
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay, so my notes are kind of out of order, so I might backtrack and stuff. But I was listening to an Alan Moore clip from like a presentation he did one time. And if anybody doesn't know, he's the very famous comic writer and famous occultist. He's like the magician of the comic world. He created Watchmen and V for Vendetta and that kind of stuff. But he got asked by the Gorillaz, the band, to make a play about John Dee, or make a play about like magic, basically. And he was like, "Let's do it about John Dee." And he wrote, I guess, a bunch of scenes, if not the whole play. And then it kind of fell through because Alan Moore was kind of a piece of work. It's kind of hard to deal with. But he was reading this caption, or he was explaining it and then reading like his first little blurb from the play. And essentially, he'd said that the way Dee presented the British Empire, like he coined the term, he was the first one to say it and conceptualize it. The way he presented it to Queen Elizabeth, he was like, "Oh yeah, I heard this weird like legend that the Celts and the Druids, or that the Celts and the Druids landed in the New World when they sailed from Wales, and we can use that to justify British imperialism around the world. Like we can." That can be what England uses as their claim to the New World. That the Celts and the Druids went from the British Isles to the New World first, so they get to Britain then gets to claim the New World. And it's like, yeah, if we can do it there, and then we can do it all over the place. We can do it around the whole world, and that's what we'll call the British Empire. So, even without the blood ritual aspect, which I'll get into, and I do think is very, very possible. He like kind of just manifested what we know about England today from his own brain, pretty much. He was like, you talked about, he was kind of the bridge between like the age of like magic and the age of science. Like the early 16th century is coming right out of the Dark Ages, so most people believe in like the mystical aspects of the world. They don't really understand any of the scientific aspects. And he was actually, when he started to get in trouble, like to dealing with the Protestants or the Catholics and that kind of stuff, he was arrested for I think it was calculating was one of the crimes, which is basically just doing math, because it's like you can like, yeah, you could it was still that early after the Dark Ages where people were afraid of math. And that reminds me a lot. I just watched the first 2 episodes of Foundation, that Isaac Asimov story. It's being turned into a show on Apple TV Plus. It's a big deal, and they're really going in. But one of the main characters, he's like, this is not a spoiler, but the main conflict is the main royal dynasty, which is a bunch of clones, like essentially, aka inbred royals, are ruling the entire galactic empire. And we have this mathematician who is like understands math more than anyone else in the whole world. He created this he calls it psychomathematics or something like that, which is like essentially predicting the future based on this unbelievably complicated math that nobody else in the world can understand besides him. And like the Britain and the Empire thinks that people will see him as a zealot, saying bad things about the Empire. So let's take him and let's arrest him and maybe kill him and get rid of him, you know. So he predicted that in the story based on this algorithm, which essentially the way they use it is this like moving sand kind of that like projects itself in the air in this like sphere shape, which after reading about the crystal gazing and the crystal ball with John Dee sounds like a very John Dee type character. And his main fear was that when he gets arrested, the library that he curated, like, because a lot of places in the galaxy don't like, they arrest you for doing math too, and they don't like written books, and other places technology is getting so advanced that the written word is gone pretty much. It's all digital and that kind of stuff. So he's like, he created this perfect library, which is exactly what John Dee did in real life. And when John Dee was arrested, most of the books were destroyed, but the ones that lasted were these seminal texts. They were one of one, so nobody else had them in the world. Basically, if there was stuff left from Alexandria, he had it. And those books is pretty much what the basis of modern thought since the 16th century. So they credit, just in that aspect, they give John Dee the credit for pretty much creating what we know as the British Empire. And then add that, instead of like using, it's like mathematics, which he is doing, like he's communicating with angels and stuff, but he's also using math to predict the future. So with math and astronomy, because he's big in like navigation and that kind of stuff, he basically, his math and his navigation stuff also allowed the British Empire to actually traverse the world. Like without him, they would have been crashing into stuff and falling off the edge of the world and that kind of stuff. But he predicted that there'd be bad storms in 1588 that would like crush the Spanish Armada, which was their biggest rival. And it did. It happened. So he's like basically using math, which is exactly what this Isaac Asimov story is about. Same with the library and that kind of stuff. But also his communication with the angels could be like, I think it's more than math. So where the Foundation ends, it ties into the occult. Like I think he's getting his information from the other side. And Alan Moore in this clip did not believe he was actually talking to angels. He's like, yeah, he had to tell everybody he's talking to angels because of that time period. If he said anything else besides angels, he would have been murdered instantly. You know what I mean? I'm rambling, so maybe jump in for a second, and then I'll finish.
You're good. So, like I said, interesting. So, and not only that, like I said, so mathematics calculating was illegal at the time, charged with calculating, and also, like I said, during the time they had to have secret societies of atheists, which we'll get to one of those. I got one of those picked out that was actually had some notable people in it, including it is rumored that John Dee was part of that secret society because you couldn't be an atheist at the time because it was punishable by death. But just to throw that into the mix for you. But go right ahead, sir.
And atheists, like today we say atheists, we think that they don't believe in anything, but he was like, he believed that there's entities out there. He was not an atheist. It's like, it's all math. He was like, there's a lot of math, but math is like from these entities. You know what I mean? And there's entities out there. Like when Alan Moore wrote the story, it was from the perspective of Alan Moore pretty much talking to God and being like, I know you're out there, but like, I know you're not what they say you are. What are you, pretty much? Which is interesting. And then like to tie it to the ritual thing, like whether or not that one Marlowe killing was the blood sacrifice to like start the empire, I personally believe that these empires, they do this. They like consecrate the ground that they're taking over with these rituals, and then they try to connect them to like that ley line portal grid that you're talking about. The world grid, you know. So just right off a couple of like threads to maybe jog people's minds is that for the United States, to tie the ley line aspect together, all the major cities along the East Coast, like Washington D.C., Philadelphia, New York, Boston, and then like America's Stonehenge, New Hampshire, and up to like New Brunswick, all like giant mounds and everything, are in a literal line that goes through all of those cities down into Teotihuacan in Mexico, then to go up past America's Stonehenge and stuff. It goes across the ocean and right through the center of Stonehenge in England, you know, and those are where, and New York, and if not other cities, are aligned to the summer solstice. They call it Manhattan-henge, that like alignment, like 34th Street, that whole like block of roads or whatever. So they base the structure of the nation, like of these cities, like they design them. Everyone knows the Washington D.C., all the Masonic stuff or whatever, but that's every city. And I think it's towns, I think it's everything, and also the way the cities are lined up, like the cities itself are on these ley lines. And for like the blood sacrifice thing, I think that honestly, this is for like a more diligent researcher than me, but plot every battle in every war, like what Napoleon was doing, the Civil War, and then Genghis Khan was. It doesn't matter. Just like if you think there's occult ties to the elites of that area or that government or whatever, then see like how these battles kind of, if there's a pattern, and I believe that there would be a pattern, you know. And like for instance, I mention this all the time, but like Gettysburg was a mystical area before the Civil War. So the idea that it's haunted now is not because of the battle. It's haunted because it was already an area that the natives considered to be a window area. It already had orbs, green orbs flying around and apparitions and stuff. And then they do the battle, in my opinion, on the sacred spot as a blood ritual. I think all of King Philip's War in Massachusetts was all based on that. I think like the Native Americans were mainly tragically destroyed less about taking in the land and more about we need bodies to like we need to soak this ground in blood, basically. Same thing. I don't know this for sure, but if I had to guess, I would say that the concentration camps in Germany are most likely in some kind of alignment like this. I think there's a commonality throughout history, at least with the elites that believe in this occult stuff, which I think is all of them forever.
Sounds like it.
and then one last thing, and then I really have to go back. But
sure.
when I was getting super deep into research in my hometown and my like county around my area, I was like really diving into everything, and I don't have it right in front of me right now. But the town that I talk about, Andover, Massachusetts, it's like the town right next to me. It's where both Bushes went to prep school here. It's like the number one prep school in the entire country, Phillips Academy, and so in this town, the town is also where the most witches during the Salem witch trial, like most confessed witches and most killed witches were from Andover. So it really should be called the Andover witch trials. But like the girls who did the accusing were from Salem, the Salem girls, and they were the daughters of Putnams and the elite families, the elite occult families of that time were the ones picking the people to be killed. And the first person killed was the wife of and the husband, but like mainly the wife was the one who was considered the witch. Her husband was like 6'5", considered to be a giant at that time, and allegedly swung the axe to behead the King of England at the end of the British Revolution in England, which I don't have all the details for or whatever, but it's the same thing. There's a stone circle at the center of the city. He was beheaded. The person who literally swung the axe then fled to America, and his wife was the first murdered witch, and he was killed too. The idea that like these, and I think the Salem witch trials was not like, I think that was also, they, instead of Native Americans and instead of like Jews in the Holocaust and instead of like slaves or whatever, in this case it was the witches. They used the witches as the blood, and the early pilgrims, the colonists or whatever, their first kind of blood sacrifice was these witches, and they literally linked the two empires. So the very beginning of the American Empire, which you can argue was still the British Empire, was linked on these ley lines by this. I don't know. Does that make sense? What I'm like? They linked it. They linked it, yeah. And that's the link, like the British Empire ritual with the American ritual, and then from there it goes on. But like, and that doesn't really support the idea that John Dee did it. But that's just to say that I think they're absolutely doing this, you know. And I'm way over break. I go punch back in.
Okay.
But I hope people call in. I'm really interested to hear everybody's takes on this. And great show, Mike. And I did a terrible job explaining the Is America Ritual thing when we first talked about it on the after show. So the fact that you got anything out of that just goes to show how great of a host you are. But really awesome stuff, brother.
Appreciate it. Always great stuff. Derek, go Sox. Have a great night, man. Talk to you soon.
Go Sox.
Thanks, bro. Thanks, bro. Okay, so that's Derek, the Night Stalker from Massachusetts again. And he's, like I said, he's a lot of the inspiration for what we do here because, again, he's in the chat. He's sharing information. He's trying to get stuff out like this. And I thought that's fascinating. I didn't even actually figure that maybe there is a connection here between the end of the British Empire and 1776. As of course the Salem witch trials and all that was prior to, but it is in between the transition period of maybe when John Dee summoned in this British Empire in 1593, and of course the Salem witch trials that are going to be, I believe that's 100 years, something like that, prior to 1776, somewhere in that range. So you have this weird, I don't know, my dates may be off there, but maybe that transitionary period is a thing, and it is connected by ritual, by elites, by blood ritual, by again maybe turning in these creating empires out of the ether, out of again communicating with whatever they are. And I don't want to say angels because if you say somebody says they're, like I said, if you say somebody says they're summoning and talking to angels, I want to see it because maybe I don't, but you get my point. Let's say the opposite of an angel would probably tell you they're an angel to gain influence with you. That's what I'm saying. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Great stuff from Derek. I appreciate that. And, I don't know. This is again John Dee, the Queen Elizabeth's court magician, is said to have through blood ritual or summoning a demon actually summoned in the British Empire. Thank you, Promethean Reckoning over there on D-Lab. I see it says 1692. Appreciate that. And kind of right in between, right? 1776 and 1593, pretty much right in the transitionary period. So good stuff. Thank you for helping me with that got the date there. So I think that's the thing, right? That's the question tonight. And what we're doing, is this really, do you think this blood ritual stuff and summoning in geopolitics is a thing? Do you think it possibly works? Red Sox win, by the way, if anybody's following that, 6-2. Sox win. Okay, so they move on to play, I think it's the, anyway, whatever, who cares? So you guys tell me. Point being is, if you believe this is true, why? And if you don't, I can kind of concur that it seems outlandish, doesn't it? It seems like a very wild thing to be able to conjure in a changing world on a global scale with some things like this. But I think maybe, as Derek was describing, it may not be just, let's say, the John Dee ritual. Maybe they were linked. Maybe there is part of a ritual that did come over from England to the United States prior to them becoming the United States, and maybe this ritual went over the pond, as it were. And who knows what's going on with this? I have no idea. But okay, so like I said, there's more to this. Let me. We've talked about that secret society. Now, this is from Wikipedia, of course, because there's not a lot of information I could find on this. But check this out. This is pretty wild. Back in the time, again, late 1500s, 1585, 1590, somewhere in that range, it was illegal to be an actual atheist. Okay, and so they had to have secret societies where they met to even discuss things like this. All right, things like what we're even talking about, right? Things like, well, does God exist? Does God not exist? Does what if you think you're talking to an angel and you're talking to a demon, or vice versa, right? Like this type of stuff. It's philosophy. It's asking the deepest questions about what it is to be human beings. And clearly, in the old days, you couldn't do that. You weren't allowed. You weren't allowed to think outside the box. Like Derek was saying, the one guy was arrested for calculating, for math, for crying out loud. Well, being an atheist at the time would get you a death sentence. And so there's this actual secret society known as the School of Night. And so here we go, straight from Wikipedia. Like I said, only because there's a lack of other sources. We're going to go with Wikipedia, the Ministry of Truth, I like to call them. But the School of Night is a modern name for a group of men centered on Sir Walter Raleigh. We know that name. That was once referred to in 1592 as the School of Atheism. The group supposedly included poets and scientists Christopher Marlowe, George Chapman, Matthew Roydon, and Thomas Harriot. There is no firm evidence at all that these men were known to each other, but speculation about their connection features prominently in some early writing about the Elizabethan era. And I couldn't find anything regarding John Dee being part of this secret society, but it seems like he was in these circles because he did apparently know Christopher Marlowe. Wink, wink. So I don't know. The School of Night, secret societies, ritual magic, changing world politics with a spell or such. What do you think? Is this a real thing? 702-957-1037. Let's go to Jennifer in Missouri. We're actually at the end of a break here. We're about to take a break, Jen. Do you want to start and then re-engage after about 5 minutes? What's happening? How are you?
Sure. Yeah, I'm doing good. That sounds fine.
Okay, go right ahead.
Okay. Well, blood magic and the fact that these people are oftentimes connected with doing some kind of rituals. I mean, I think he would have to be in denial to not notice that all, like he was mentioning, like Derek had mentioned, that the whole earth and all the big cities and all the monuments and all the major landmarks are built in sacred spots. And typically they even line up with ley lines. Like they're called like dragon lines and ley lines. And there's a whole mythos behind it. But they do appear, all these different, like Bohemian Grove, people know about that stuff. It's all on these ley lines. Major battles, big wars, and the land that they're fought on usually are like somehow near or connected to these ley lines. And I think it goes back to pre-British empires into like ancient empires that have fallen and that people are no longer familiar with. In the case of the Sumerians, which there's people who believe that some of those old empires, though they fell, they didn't just go away. They continued to evolve. So they technically kind of just wait till we come back.
Okay, I'm sorry. I saw you called. I hit go and I looked at the time and went, "Oh crap!" Sorry about that. So we're here with Jennifer from Missouri. We're talking about ritual magic. Is it possible to change world politics with some spells? That's an easy way to put it. We're going to be right back with Jennifer. Thank you very much for calling. 702-957-1037. This is Troubled Minds on Michael Strange. We will be right back. Thanks, Jan. Hang tight. Be right with you.
Sure.
All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and we are streaming on Rockfin, D-Live, YouTube, and Twitter. We're broadcasting live on the Fringe FM. And tonight, we are discussing ritual magic. Is it possible to change the course of world history through ritual, whether it's blood magic, summoning demons, or any of the rest of this? I'm not an expert. I don't know a damn thing about it, but I think it's fascinating. We're talking about a tale of one John Dee, who supposedly conjured in the British Empire in 1593. And, well, was this the beginning of this, or was it going on long before? That's what's on my mind tonight. If you want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Let's go right back to Jen in Missouri. Sorry for cutting you off. Go right ahead, my friend. How are you tonight?
I'm doing good.
Right on.
Good. Just talking about the blood magic stuff. So I was saying before just that I think, people assume that when an empire has seemingly disappeared due to massive wars, that they did completely go away. And I don't think that that's the case. I think many times those ancient empires are rising up again, and you see them in Rome, and you see them in the United States today, and you see them in the British empires and the Ottoman empires and all the different empires. They didn't just appear. Some of these times, I think that these empires we have today have gone back to the most ancient of empires, and that they are still ruling the world today because they have all this magic and the ability to map out the stars and to map out these power centers on the earth and things like that. They kept all that information, and they would take advantage of knowing when there would be natural disasters and everyone else wouldn't know, and see worlds would fall, and they would seemingly come up out of nowhere, but they weren't coming up out of nowhere. They already had the information. They had been protecting it for, probably thousands of years. And the rulers of those empires don't go away either, because they would believe in kingship, and prior to that, the right to rule. Like, they still kind of think that today in some regards. But it has to do with the blood. And in this instance, it has to do with everyone's blood, if you think about it. Today, people are still doing blood magic, technically. We just don't call it that anymore. Doctors, whenever you have something wrong with you, they're going to take your blood, and they have amazing science today, which is all based from this blood magic of old, in my opinion. So people would be able to tell, people have different types of, blood types, and blood magic doesn't necessarily immediately insinuate something evil. I'm not saying that anybody should be doing any kind of blood magic, and I'm not saying that, but people assume immediately it's going to be some kind of mass sacrifice. Well, and a lot of these times, these people, it might be part of their culture from ancient times, these ruling class people, and they still do it possibly on a bigger scale, but I think that they might be doing it even on a minor scale. So there's always that probability. As far as the mass sacrifices of people, they'd be spilling that blood on certain land to some type of message. So all this would be ritualistic, but blood magic in and of itself, just because blood is used, when it's in your body, there's nothing evil about it. And sometimes these people would be giving it out of consent, especially if they were royal bloodline. So if a queen, for example, were to drop her blood on, different territories or something like that of her own consent, you also can't consume blood in large amounts. So this idea of consuming large amounts of blood, or people who go around drinking lots of blood, I think it's called something like I wrote it down, hemochromatosis, I think is what it was, because I couldn't I was like, I have to write that down. But if you consume more than a couple of teaspoons of blood, it can damage your organs. But regardless, it's got to do with fertility. Someone mentioned in the chat, I think it was, I don't remember who said it, but that there's connection between sex magic and blood magic. There is, in the way that blood is involved in the fertility cycles and so on and so forth. But as far as empires, let's get to that. People have heard the Sumerians, but you have the Sumerians too that are lesser heard about. And that has to do with in the Himalayan mountains, the Sumerian, Cimmeerian, the Sumerians come from some territory, it's Teutonic plates up in the Himalaya mountains. And supposedly there was some kind of catastrophic event. And the Sumerians of the summer lands, the warmer lands, had migrated. And so there was a division there. So you have a ruling class of people coming from two different terrains, one near Iran and Afghanistan and Kazakhstan in that region. But you also have over in Egypt and parts of Africa where it could be the same, or the same tribes, basically the same lands, but they're carrying on the same exact things they were doing then today. If you look at some people have theorized that if you look at the Abrahamic religions, that they may be retelling of the same ancient stories coming out of the Sumerian traditions. In those traditions, there are blood rituals. So it wouldn't be unusual that these people would still be doing blood rituals in all these locations, either on a mass scale, as in a mass sacrifice. But blood magic doesn't always equate to big sacrifices. So I think that's important. But you'll notice that there are masses of blood spilt anytime new territories are gained or moved, because you have to get rid of people who don't want you to have it. So in the case of, you see it in the United States, and you've seen it in all over Europe, all over the world. So when they're trying to conquer these individual tribal peoples, they have to wipe them out to form a bigger empire. To even have an empire, you have to get rid of people who don't want to be a part of the empire or want to keep things the way that they always had them. So, of course, they have to wipe them out. As far as John Dee doing blood magic, there's no reason. I would like to try to think of a reason to think that he wasn't doing magic and communicating with angels or seraphim, like when they were talking about these. It's not quite like the angels we think about. They're talking about these mythical creatures that are pre-Abrahamic religions, and that we are being told about in the Abrahamic religions in a Christianized or Muslim way. But these beings are ancient. They look much different than we think. And they may have been thinking that they were communicating with them through one of the most powerful means possible, which is DNA in their bloodlines, what's in their veins. And a single drop of blood, a person could clone someone. I mean, it has everything about you and all of your ancestry. And so I think that it's one of the most potent things to use in magic. They were doing magic because it was the early steps of science. And still to this, as far as were they able to conquer empires with this science? Yes, I absolutely think so. And as far as being able to, why would that be, though? They already have the knowledge. They already have the knowledge from pre-division, pre-whatever natural catastrophic events or whatever may have happened. And if you even look at the Abrahamic religions in the Bible, they talk about sowing salt on the land to get rid of blood guilt. So the fact that they wiped out entire groups of people, they would sow the ground with salt. And it's mentioned several times, this idea of salting behind you. So I don't know. I think that just because we don't live a ritualistic lifestyle, though we do today, I mean, when people donate blood and everything to save it, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on all the time. We have rituals that we are not aware of anymore because they have no any appearance of being some kind of sacred significance. But anyway, I do think that they would very likely, and still probably today do do blood magic to some degree. And I think that we just have to understand that it's part of the story of the current world we live in, that the continents and the mythos of this earth are ancient, and they go really, really far back. These aren't new ideas by any means. And the idea of how these empires are ruled is an ancient idea. And this idea of having an empire in general is an ancient idea of ruling the world. And ideally to have one person or one group ruling the entire world has been an idea for a long time.
I love it.
To do with their God.
Yeah.
And goddesses.
I do like how you framed it as an ancient idea, because it doesn't seem to be really how you control information anymore. I think information itself, you could probably have look at Facebook, right? Like Facebook in particular is ruling the world through information, right? Like it's changing. I like how you pointed out how the paradigm has kind of shifted in the old way of thinking, right? And do you think? Right. I don't want to point out that maybe let's say Zuck is into blood ritual magic or anything, but do you think that maybe the new digital way of ruling information and the algorithms in this, do you think it's related at all, or do you think it's maybe taking a step in a different direction now?
I think that they see their role in the world theater as being a great deal more important than we do. And these people are chosen for these to rule over these certain platforms and to divvy out this information and this new sciences. This is handed down through lineages to the people. And so they don't just pop up out of nowhere. These people are already from lineages that have brought previous ideas to the world. So though we look at them and we don't like them or we feel this or that about them, they come out of dynasties, most likely, and they believe that they are fulfilling a different role than we can imagine. And they do affect and change the entire world as we see it. And most people are looking at the world through their lens and not their own.
Exactly. And that's what this show's really about in the end. Let's look at it through our own lens. Fantastic stuff. You were amazing. Yeah. What else you got? I don't want to keep milking you for every word here, but if you got more, go right ahead.
I just think that
it's
possible that even the idea that you couldn't be atheist is because the atheism and the paganism were very closely united. I think that one of the biggest things they were fighting against was people having their own sovereignty. And so the belief that, for example, we are sovereign over our own lives and we don't have to answer to a governing force or to a bishop or a mayor, that was a problem. So atheism and paganism, certain types of paganism, would have been associated with rebellion. And so it wouldn't have much to do with anything except they are sending a message out to others, or they're continuing to practice in a way that's not good for the one hive, for the kings and the queens and for the hive. And so those who step out of that or are not participating or are only serving themselves are going to be labeled with a broad stroke as being heretics or in some way even evil. And so because the very idea of not fulfilling this idea that they have of an empire of control, which would give them, like ants or bees. And so I think that it's like a spider coming into the mix of a hive of bees, basically, or something. So they'd have to wipe that away, or at least suppress it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Sovereignty of ourself is the enemy, and that's what we always talk about, right? That's literally a kind of a running theme of this show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fantastic. You are amazing. Always spot on here. And so I think kind of pointing to this ritual is maybe like we were talking about this in the chat after the show last night. Like Matt in California brought up the fact that this ritual stuff, it seems bizarre, like kind of in modern context, but we still do it, right? The salt over the shoulder, knocking on wood, other weird stuff like the birthday cake, blowing out the candles. Like there's a lot of this weird stuff that seems like 1,000 years from now they'll be like these ritualistic pagans doing all this craziness, right? But I mean, we're just blowing out birthday candles, right? But is that is it the same thing?
It is really strange. Like if I go to the doctor and I donate blood to this doctor, I give it to him, because I trust him. He's a doctor. And so because I trust him, I give him my blood, and I give doctors and other priests, like scientists and stuff like that, rights over my very existence all the time. I put it in their hands. And so some people may think that's crazy, but I mean, we do it all the time. And it's a type of ritual that we entrust to complete strangers just because they are a magus or a doctor or a scientist. But to these people back then, these were doctors, these were scientists.
Yes.
And so they would entrust all kinds of things to them, and especially even getting counsel about what they should do or how they should proceed in conquering other lands or extending their territories. They would most certainly consult with a doctor or with with someone like that, of that caliber in their minds. So it's not as wild as it just sounds wild. It sounds impossible. That why were they talking to a magus or a magician or a magi? Because these were wise men and women. So they would trust them, especially in these higher echelons. If you were ruling by blood, for example, with Queen Elizabeth and all the other queens and kings, they ruled through hereditary lines. So, yeah. So, I mean, I think that's what I forgot what I was going to say.
It gets deep, doesn't it? It gets deep. Like you find yourself talking in circles down the spiral. You're like, wait, how'd I get here? You're amazing, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to it. There's a lot to it. You're right. We're going to keep on talking about this, of course, because that's part of what this show's about. But anything else? We got to finish up here in the next several minutes. So your final thoughts on this? Like I always appreciate your input because you seem to be in tune with a lot of what we're talking about, and I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for the phone call and the great information. But the final thought on this?
I don't think that we need to feel any particular way about what they're doing. I think that if we want the very key to being sovereign and having our own lives that are separate from the hive is to simply kind of take in this information, understand that it is their customs, but it doesn't mean it has to be our customs. But trying to understand why they do what they do, or the motivations for what they're doing. It is to ultimately, eventually, they think have world peace. But that world peace comes with a sacrifice, and the sacrifice is free will for people all over the world. So I think that it's ideal if as far as when people talk about, well, what about action? And it's like, well, the most important action is going to be for us to all just, if you don't want to be a part of that, then understand it, but then, try not to fall into exactly what they hope everyone will do and flip out.
Right. Don't panic.
But let's just hope for the best.
Let's hope for the best. Don't buy into the fear. Let's hope for the best. Great, fantastic message. You're the best, Jennifer. Yeah. Agreed, 100%. And I think that's the vibe of the show. That's really what we've always been about, sovereignty of yourself. And that's a great way to succinctly put all those amazing things you kind of tied into the rest of it. It is a ritual to take ourselves away from ourselves. And it's been going on for a very long time. And I think this is the battle we fight. It is, many have called it the battle of good versus evil, or what have you, right? However you want to label this. But it is the hive mind versus the sovereign mind. And I think we know.
Yeah.
I think we know where you stand on this. I do not call you a hive minder. You're the best. Thank you so much for the call tonight. Always great.
Take
Go
care.
ahead. Go ahead.
Bye.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Jennifer in Missouri. Look at that. This is what I'm saying, right? This is my point about this entire show is we've always done this in a live format for exactly this reason. You see all the amazing people we get to call in, Jennifer among them. Look, the conversation begins talking about blood ritual, talking about John Dee, talking about summoning in the British Empire, talking about all kinds of things. And look where we get. We bring it all the way back. Jennifer brings it all the way back to sovereignty of yourself, to the hive mind versus the individual mind, to, again, right, bring it to the Alex Jones level. The globalism, the globalists and the shy-coms and the, right, Alex Jones, and he does it. The human pig chimeras, right? Yeah, right. I'm making fun here, but it is a very large concept of that, the Borg, right? The hive mind, blood, ritual, sacrifice, all these things we're talking about. That's a fantastic way to bring it all the way back to really what this show's about, and really what the sense of being is about, the sense of your own being. And so I want to point out too, to kind of actually add to what Jennifer said there, is that if you go back to the time we're talking about, John Dee, Elizabeth I, to that period, late 1500s, we're talking about a time where, like Night Stalker said, they put people in jail for calculating, for math, all right? But also they put people to death for atheism. And you see, unfortunately, we still live in this same world, all right? Look at Jamal Khashoggi. They put him to death for journalism, right, for trying to tell the truth. Look at what the CIA just proposed in 2017 for Julian Assange, right, to actually stage a firefight to execute him, right? Things like this for journalism, all right? It's the same thing. It's death for ideas. And we still live in this world. It's just disguised. It's hidden. We're under this blanket of artificial or manufactured security that it's not as it seems, and that's what this is all about. And in the end, I think that we have the right to be wrong. And that's an underlying theme of this show as well, is that ideas should not get you killed. I'm sorry. And ideas and freedom of speech is paramount. Freedom of thought is paramount. And the right to be wrong is critical in this. Because you look, 1585, 1590, they're putting people to death for being atheists. Think about it now. It's reversed, hasn't it? If you're not an atheist, the persecution is on Christians. The persecution is on Muslims. The persecution is on people of faith. And are they putting them to death? Maybe not here in the States, but they are doing it other places in the world. And so interestingly, like I said, I truly believe, and I'll stand by this, we have the right to be wrong. And that's what this show's about. That's what these conversations are about, and that's why we do this. Thank you so much, Jennifer. Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you so much for all the fantastic calls tonight, and everybody listening. We're going to keep talking about this. We're going to continue with these underlying themes of this show. We do have the right to be wrong. We do have the right to question authority. We do have the right to tell tall tales. That's it. I'm not saying we're lying. I'm saying we're considering possibilities. It's completely different. And so just because you want to consider all the possibilities does not make you an enemy of the state. And there we go. There we go. So much good stuff tonight. Thank you guys for joining us and being part of this. Thanks for listening. As I always say, you could be doing a million things right now, but instead you're spending your time with us, and I'm honored by that. So I thank you, each and every one of you listening, everybody in the chat. Thank you so much, and let's wrap this up. As you know, we are on the Fringe FM broadcasting, and if you're listening on the Fringe, stay tuned for Joe Roop Lighting the Void. If you're listening on any other platform, including the podcast feed, stay tuned for a third hour of Troubled Minds. We're going to keep on talking about this and keep on taking your phone calls. And as we finish, the question is, do you believe we have the right to be wrong? Do you believe in the sovereignty of yourself? And do you believe there is a power out there trying to take it away from you? Be sure, be strong, be true. Thank you for listening. From our troubled minds to yours, have a great night. Guys, we are not done yet. We've got a third hour of Troubled Minds coming up where we're off the radio, no radio clock. Thanks again to Jennifer for dealing with my stupidity of taking her call just before a break and adding an amazing level to this conversation. Again, like I said, this is why we do this live, because you get amazing calls, you get amazing people, and you get to have a conversation. And like I said, the battle seems to be against people that want to have a conversation and get along with each other. You understand? All the division politics, all the bullshit they put us through, yeah, you guessed it. What do you think it's for? It's to make us believe that we don't want the same things. It's to make us believe that our skin color, our socioeconomics, or any other division tactic is to pull us apart. As George Orwell said, well, I'm not going to quote it because I'm terrible at regurgitating quotes, but it's not about staying alive. It's about remaining human. We cannot betray each other. We got another hour coming up with Troubled Minds. Don't go anywhere. We're taking your phone calls. 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. Don't go anywhere. 2-minute break. More Troubled Minds coming up. All right, welcome back to Troubled Minds. I'm your host, Michael Strange, and tonight we are discussing ritual magic. We're discussing blood magic. We're discussing John Dee, back in 1593, was said to conjure in the British Empire. Do you think this is possible? They said he summoned a demon. They said he sacrificed a notable playwright of the time. They said that all kinds of things, that he communed with angels, or seraphim, as Jennifer put it, entities that are not ourselves, somewhere other than Earth is where this communication was happening. And again, there's a lot here. Like I said, the more I dug into this, the deeper this rabbit hole kept going. There seemed to be a lot of links between, of course, bloodlines, of course, the Royal British bloodline, the Tudors, and all kinds of things. Like, I just kept digging and digging. I was like, whoa, I got to stop, because if I get too deep into this, it's a story you can't tell. When there are too many details and too many threads and too many plot lines crisscrossing and all the rest of this, it just becomes a nightmare to be able to kind of give it a narrow field of telling the story, or else you're just a giant mess. And I've done that before, and I try not to do that too much. Too much is too much. So what do you think? Do you think this is all possible? I think that's the question tonight. Did dark magic conjure up the British Empire, and what is this? Like, what's going on with this? Like, as Jen was saying when she called in just a little bit ago, is that, this seems to be the elites versus a hive mind, or trying to continue keeping a hive mind of the way things used to be. The old way of looking at things, the old way of doing things. And things have changed. Things are changing. And do we have that sovereignty of ourself? And is this blood ritual magic a way to keep us in line, to keep us I don't know. We had a phone call last night, and in particular said people should stop having kids, right? Is that where this is at? I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure where this goes from there, but like I said, I've got more of this to talk about. Of course, we're going to get into some James Bond theme links here to John Dee. If you guys didn't know, again, shout out to Rivers for pointing that out to me. Apparently, that's right. John Dee was apparently the original James Bond. Did you not know this? Well, if you didn't, and you're going to. Yep. Rivers, there you go. I actually said it before I read the message, but Rivers said, Michael, please don't forget the 007 reference, and I won't. We're going to get to that. I've got it right here. Thank you, Rivers, for giving me information I didn't know. And this is what this is about. This is about getting together, learning from each other, and having a conversation. And that's what's going on tonight. So I don't know. Back to the whole bit of this. By the way, we are still taking your phone calls, and you can be part of the show at 702-957-1037. That's 702-957-1037. That number is persistent, by the way. So if you're listening to this on an actual archive or a podcast or whatever a few days from now, and you have thoughts on this, call in and just leave us your thoughts, and we'll play the voicemail on a future show. I think maybe what we'll start doing is, if we get enough interest with that, maybe we'll add a show on Friday and play voicemails and kind of follow up on some of the thoughts and ideas that came out of the shows for the week. So you guys tell me. Like I said, we're flexible here. I do know that there's value in talking to people, and so that's why again that's why we always do it this way. That's why we've always had the open phone line, why we've always had the Discord open, and all the rest of this. So we'll see. We're open to some ideas here and the way the shows go and all the rest of this. So that's what's up. Let's go. We got Kelly hopping in here. We're going to go to him in just a sec. Hang tight, Kelly, because we got Tam Bam right in front of you. If you guys want to be part of the show, 702-957-1037. Click the Discord link, troubledminds.org. Let's go to our friend Tam Bam in South Africa. Welcome, Tam. How are you? Testing 1 2. Can you hear me, Tam? Hello. Tam Bam, you're unmuted but not coming through. Nope. Okay, she disconnected. All right, so let's see. Brian says, "Oh, you're here we go. Tam's back. Let's. Brian says this. Oh, you're not going to make me talk about Julius Caesar. The name means in numerical terms 666. Also, did you see that Biden said this today or yesterday? He said that we're going to get this bill done if it takes 6 hours, 6 days, or 6 weeks. I was like, ooh." Okay. Somebody got to him. I thought that was funny. I mean, funny, not funny. What's up, Tam Bam? Welcome to the show. Can you hear me? Testing 1 2. Nope. It is difficult. Tam Bam 1. Test 1 2. Testing 1 2. All right. Let's jump over to the caller queue and see if we can help Tam this way. Tam, you there? Test 1 2. Testing 1 2. There we go. You're good. I just changed channels. It's okay. I know Discord can be a pain in the ass. Derek has similar issues. It's sometimes you jump in because it's a locked channel because we're on air, so people don't just kind of hijack us, and it keeps spitting you out. Anyway, welcome to the show. How are you tonight, my friend?
It's like my life. Just put me out because I have an opinion.
Yeah, exactly right. I saw you actually state that about how they used to. I'll let you say it, but you're welcome to the show. What's on your mind tonight? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing very well. The conversation went better than I thought. I'm always not really terrified because, you got a track record of, a long conversation. But sometimes I'm like, oh, shit, this is going to be bad. Only because I don't know enough about it. There's a ton more to know. But like I said, night in and night out, you guys always call in and save my ass. So I appreciate that a lot. Go right ahead.
You know what it is as well is that people do so much research over years and years and years, and they forget quite a bit. So when you come up with a topic and you talk for a while, it actually sparks a memory, and then the flood of information comes running back, and then they call in and they contribute, and they've heard this and they heard that, and that's what I love about it.
Agreed, and me too. Like I said, I'm glad it triggers a thought and a memory, and the research comes back because it does bail me out. No shit, no lying there. But I saw you. So you did mention in the chat something about you were talking about the Salem witch trials, right? You all right? What are you doing? You okay? Hello? Are you there? Tam Bam. I think she may have disconnected. Okay, whenever you're ready, hop on back. So we're talking about tonight, guys. Did dark magic conjure up the British Empire? An individual by the name of John Dee was Queen Elizabeth I's court magician, and he supposedly was able to conjure up the British Empire through blood ritual, through blood magic, whether it was a sacrifice of a notable playwright at the time, the precursor to William Shakespeare, or actually, what's his name? Let me get you his proper name. His name is Christopher Marlowe, and or did he summon a demon? And there's this weird spot. I want to point this out. We haven't done this for a little bit because we had some great calls. In this, there's this weird spot in a place called Mudchute Park, and that's just southeast of the what was it called? The Tower of London. Okay, and you can see I actually mapped out directions from one to the other. It's about a 15-minute drive through heavy British traffic. and it's close, Mudchute Farm. And so I was trying to see if there was a connection here, and you could actually find this on a satellite photograph. And sure as shit, take a look at this. If you look at the satellite photograph, you can see where there's a stone circle in the northwest quadrant of this park, Mudchute Park. And it seems to be where the spot, the navel of the British Empire, as they call it, the what is this called? The Phomos, I believe is what it's called, which is in Latin, the navel. Anyway, interestingly, that when you do pull up the satellite images, you can find this stone circle right there. I found it and was like, damn, that shit is real. All right. So, Tam, you still there? Test 1, 2?
Yes.
Okay. Welcome back. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so I just want to also say that you never. I wrote it down. So my friend was telling me, it's actually so weird. Yesterday, my friend was telling me this story about. Okay, we call maids domestic workers here, which is the proper term. And her domestic worker was speaking to a friend of hers who was also a domestic worker for this African family. Super, super wealthy family, and they live in this massive gated estate. And she was telling me that this family said to their domestic worker, do not go in this room, whatever you do. Do not go in that room. They didn't give her an explanation or anything. So the one day, I think it was 2 weeks ago. I lie. 2 months ago. The whole family went out on an outing or whatever, and the domestic worker was cleaning the house. So what are you going to do if someone tells you don't do it? You're going to do it, right? So what she did is she opened the room of that door where she wasn't supposed to open. And as she opened it, the room it smelled like a dead body, and she said she saw little demons or something running around the room, and there was an altar, and it was just evil and black, and it was just terrible. And she tried to close the door, and the door was battling to close because something was trying to get out the whole time. And eventually she closed the door, and then the family who went out came back, and as if the father of the family knew what happened, and he said to her, you opened the door, and sorry, but you're going to be sick. You're going to get very, very sick now. And true as hell, she actually got sick. She was so sick for a whole month. She took a month off work. And she was so terribly ill, and no doctor, anybody could find out what's wrong with her. So eventually she had to go back to work, and she went to the head of the household, and she said to him, listen, why am I sick? Why can I not get better? And he said, that room is where we actually have to pray to the demons in that room using blood magic to keep our wealth. And I mean, these people are insanely wealthy, ridiculously wealthy. So they have to worship to these people or to these entities to keep their wealth. And she actually has to go back to work because there's no other option for her. So going to work and knowing that this crap is in this house, it must be scary as hell. So when you talk about today and blood magic and all these things, and my friend telling me what she heard from her domestic worker yesterday, it just makes total sense. So this family has to pray to these things to keep their wealth and a sacrifice or whatever the case is. Oh, and the domestic worker keeps on noticing animals that just disappear. So they get a new puppy or they get a new this. And then they say, oh no, the puppy died, or the puppy got run over, or, something happened. And it all adds up to blood magic to keeping their wealth. That's so bizarre.
Holy shit is what that is. That's wild. And so makes you wonder, right? When I say the elites are into these things, there's a reason they're there, right?
Right, exactly. And so, it's very, very scary. You never know what's happening behind closed doors. I mean, this family is a prestigious family, and apparently they're very nice people, and they're great, and the kids do well in school. And then you hear about this, and then you think, well, shit, I'm not going to do that to be wealthy, to be super wealthy. I'm not going to risk my soul. So you just never know what happens behind closed doors.
Yeah, and well, I'm sure, and that's I hate to say just the beginning of it, but I mean, so what does that even mean? They have to give blood tribute to these entities. Are they sacrificing people? Like, what the hell's going on there? Do you think?
Oh, fuck knows. But that kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I actually didn't want her to speak any further because it's sickening that these people, I mean, I must be seriously in denial, but that these people actually exist, even though I know these people exist in multitudes, it's just difficult for me to comprehend that's what you would do to be something on exactly for an eternity of hell. No thanks.
No thanks.
Skip.
Wow. Yeah. That's wild. And I don't know, like if this is the thing, like people have described, it's been going on for a very, very long time. I don't want to know how to get into this because, like I said, I'd rather have my own autonomy and not owe anything to anybody. Thank you, but
thanks.
You know what I mean? Wink, wink. But what in the world? So what about the rest of this? So clearly you believe. And I want to say too, good you stopped the individual from talking more about it because you also don't want to be implicated, right? If you know a little too much, then you become a target as well, right? Which is not good.
Well. Exactly, but I did say to my friend, you find out where that frickin' house is, and so you know where that house is, and your kids don't go there. You don't make friends with that family's children. You don't make friends with them. You just stay far the fuck away.
Yes.
That's it.
Hell yes.
So I want to actually tell you, Jen is such a great caller. And Jennifer, she just comes up with these things, and she's so brilliant. And I actually missed the bulk of her conversation because my child needed to eat with his hollow pit of emptiness.
Hey, some of us are just always hungry, Tim.
Yeah, cheapers. Hell.
Go right ahead.
So what you've been talking about, I mean, it goes, like you said, and Jennifer said, it just goes so far back. I mean, it's like slavery. It's like the religious wars. It's the oldest thing in the book, right? It goes so far back that the people nowadays who are opening up to realizing, oh shit, this stuff is going on. Blood rituals this is what's happening. Oh, the royal whatever. You can't exactly fathom how far back it goes. That even that if you open it up now and start talking or researching about now, it's not going to really make a difference, right? Because there's so much of it. I mean, this stuff is pre-planned. I mean, I really do believe that everybody that's in major power, it's all planned. These people are all planned out. Like, I only found out Mark Zuckerberg is related to some other famous person back in the day, and it's all pre-planned. These people, and I found out that a South African president, there was a meeting even before I was born. So the South African president, it was happening at apartheid, just before apartheid, and this white guy said, "You do not touch Cyril Ramaphosa because he needs to go and work and make a lot of money before he becomes president." And I'm thinking, all this shit is planned. It's pre-planned. We have absolutely zero control. Our votes mean nothing. Our opinions mean nothing. And that's killed me.
Yeah. And once again, right, where it's a struggle. It's a struggle of power versus those who are not in power. It's a struggle as old as time. And yeah, I don't know. I think the terrifying part is, like, if they're in these ritual situations where they have to continue blood sacrifice in some capacity to keep their wealth. Well, right. Once again, even if it's fake, right? Even if it's like a figment of their imagination, let's say, it's still, like, in some case, blood sacrifice, right? And some religions are murdering roosters, and right, but some are not. Some are,
That is my question.
Going after people.
And I said to you, exactly. And I said to you in chat, and I don't know, you didn't mention it, so I don't know if I should mention it about the orphanage.
Oh yeah. Yeah, probably not. Let's not. I mean, let's just say that if the elites are doing blood sacrifice, meaning that they're actually sacrificing people, that it doesn't take much to kind of put two and two together and find out where these individuals are coming from, the sacrifice, as it were. So we can kind
of
go ahead.
But it's also a case of boredom. You know what I mean? If you have so much money, let me give you a good example. I don't know. Listen, I've binge watched this show, but I'm sure many of you have. I don't know. Squid Game. I have binge watched that show, and it opened my eyes to the reality of the elites being so fucking bored that they actually have to bet money on human lives.
Yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. Think about it. Like once the barriers of just surviving and like having the things you need and want are broken, once you have wealth, like huge wealth, that's like a week. Like you'll burn through all everything you ever wanted in a week. You'll have houses in the Riviera, everything all over the place, right? But then what?
Yeah,
you're bored, aren't you? Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
And there's a blood sacrifice with that. There's boredom. There's doing anything you want just because you can. It's horrible, man.
Yeah. So back to that other stuff too. You were talking about how they were able to basically just kind of write women off because they were hysterical or this, that, or the other thing, right? They were able to take away their opinions back in the day. And we were discussing the Salem witch trials, right? A little bit with that. So you got thoughts on that?
Well, yeah. So back in it's so ridiculous. Back in the day, women standing up to their husbands, having an opinion, not listening to their husbands, were put in a freaking insane asylum. It's so bizarre and so stupid. But but the thing is, I would rather live in a situation where. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're still good. You're good to go.
I'd rather live in days nowadays than live back then and not have an opinion. Shit, I think I'd be in jail for murder. Seriously.
Let's not do that. Let's not be in jail for murder. Yeah.
No.
Right. Hold on one sec, guys. One moment. Can you hear me, Tim? You good? Test 1 2. Making sure. Test 1 2. Tim, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, go right ahead. We had Ross jump in there. I don't want to get kind of bogarted on the conversation. I want to let you continue your thoughts. So go right ahead. We're in a protected channel. So just your thoughts on this, like ritual magic, conjuring the British Empire, the conversation as it were. Go ahead. We got Kelly here too. If you want to talk to Kelly as well, you're welcome to stay.
Well, Kelly's awesome. Sorry, there's an echo. Your radio station is playing it again.
It shouldn't be. Or if you're playing it back, maybe. I'm not sure what you mean. Let's see. Hold on.
I don't know what's going on.
It shouldn't be. Nothing should be playing back.
Oh my gosh, it's so weird. There's another one of your shows playing in the background. No.
Do you have?
It's getting too woo-woo for me here.
All right. So let me
go.
Okay. Final thought, and we'll get you out of here. Final thought on this ritual magic thing, or not?
Ritual magic intent. It's all about intent. You can be a good witch, you can be a bad witch. It's all about intent. I think it's all real.
Okay. All right. Tam Bam, you're the best. Sorry about the technical issues. We'll talk to you soon.
No. Okay, then. Keep well. Bye.
Thanks a lot. You too. There you go. Tam Bam in South Africa. Great stuff as always. Again, this is one more time. This is why we do this. This is why we get together. Kelly. Oops, sorry. I moved. Sorry, Kelly. I went to move Tam out. She left, and I moved you out. So we're still talking about this. Did dark magic conjure up the British Empire? Talking about blood magic, summoning demons, and the rest of this stuff. Like I said, we kind of drink a healthy dose of the maybe juice here, and I'm split on this. I don't know. I don't know if this is real or not. But again, like I've pointed out earlier back in the conversation, that Rohan called in a while back and said that, okay, it doesn't matter if it's real, because you have two options. If the elites believe it's real and they're perpetrating like sick shit, and it's not real, then the elites are still perpetrating sick shit, right? Sick stuff that is not real. But then if it's real, then they're casting spells and conjuring up the British Empire. I mean, holy shit, right? I don't know. So that's what's on my mind tonight. I want a quick shout out over on Rockfin to my our good friend of the show, very long time listener, Dark Devious. Send us a tip over there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. If you don't know, guys, we are on Rockfin, and that's part of the reason why we've been demonetized on YouTube. So if you're completely enjoying a conversation, you want to send us a few bucks, you can't do it on YouTube because that's just the way they are. They've demonetized us, but not on Rockfin. So thank you so much, Dark Devious, good friend of the show, been listening for a long time, contributing to the crypto channel on Discord. If you guys have not been part of the Discord, please join. A lot of good people in there, a lot of good conversations. Troubledminds.org, click the Discord link. Thank you again, Dark Devious. Whenever you're ready, Kelly, whenever you're ready, my man, hop on in here and let's talk about weird shit, bro. Because I'll tell you what, tonight is about weird shit, is it not?
How's it going, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
All right. I'm just listening in.
Right on. What do you think? What are your thoughts here? This ritual magic stuff, man. Is it possible to change geopolitics and world history with a stone circle and some blood magic?
Well, yeah, I believe there's magic. I believe magic is real. I mean, again, if like that, I didn't catch his name, but just like his comment about if, these so-called, the people that like government officials, billionaires and whatnot, if they're doing magic and it's not a big deal, but if they are doing some weird shit and it is real, yeah, that's where it really comes down to it.
Yeah, right.
Because I was gonna.
It's fucked up both ways, right?
Yeah, I mean, because I was gonna go down through a whole spiel on this thing, but yeah, that's more or less what it comes down to, and that's the thing too. It's the blood magic part is what it's supposed to be. From the stuff that that I've went through, right? So the blood magic part is supposed to be the most like either the most powerful or the most dangerous, right? And even rituals, they got NASA, even billionaires, government officials, you know what I mean? Country leaders, they're all doing rituals. NASA did rituals on the moon.
Yep.
I mean, if the shit ain't real, then why even be doing it,
Yep.
I mean, and that's like, from, if they're saying like, like for instance, the talk for tonight, about the magic taking over. I don't know, because I go different ways with that too, because, you have, because even like, for, people say here going to DC, right? And, the first laying of the stone, which was a black stone, actually, too. But, yeah, all these secret societies, man, they do rituals. Skull and Bones, Illuminati, whatnot. And Jennifer talked about it, too, for a minute. But, yeah, the Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove, they're worshiping God is Moloch, and that's all blood rituals. All these ones are, passed down through time. They've been doing either blood ritual or sacrifice, and they're only doing it for a certain reason. They're not just doing it to be doing it. There's got to be some kind of reason, especially mass ones like you have the Aztec and Mayan. And they were saying too that these people after a while, some of Aztecs were more, they would conquer like smaller clans and then use them as a sacrifice. But some other ones, they were, these other parts of those towns where they were just, people were giving themselves up to their gods, which was a serpent god. And that's the thing that I look at too, is the reason for it. Why would they be doing it?
Exactly. The only reason they would be is if they believed it, right? Like if they believed it was phony or false, they wouldn't do it at all, because it would just be like additional crimes that would be implicating them in other things, right? So clearly, the only reason you do something like that is if you believe it's true. You like just making up an excuse to, whatever. I'm not going to say the words, but whatever is the culmination of that, making stuff up to do atrocities is it's just sick in and of itself. So you don't do those things, at least to me, at least to like a sane, rational, non-elite, normal person. You don't do those things unless you believe it's real, unless you believe there's something actually happening, right?
Yeah. I mean, especially the one in Bohemian Grove, the one their sacrifices, they call it the black child for the flames, Moloch. That's for Bohemian Grove. And these are supposed to be, of course, the rich, with whatever they're into, like people that would, you would say that have, own corporations or whatnot. But you also have like leaders of, of different countries going over there. And this wasn't even, that's been going on. It's been going on for quite some time. And if you go into, the ancient societies or whatnot, again, with Mayan, Aztec, they were doing mass, sacrifices, which is, that's a blood sacrifice. But the reason why, so what leads me to some of that stuff would be, because some of the stuff they also do, sacrifices or even like rituals, like with government and stuff. They did that, through, astronomy too, the astrology. They would do it certain times, where the moons, are aligned, planet alignment or moon alignment, special celestial happenings. Yeah, they're, they already know, that's some of the stuff that they have out there to be, combing the skies,
Yeah, and it's weird too when you think about like ritual anything, and you kind of put it in context of like Matt was saying last night on the chat, you're blowing out birthday candles, salt over your shoulder, things like this. Like what about ribbon cutting ceremonies? What about like they just had some kind of a library with the Obamas, and they put the shovel in the dirt as like a sort of ritual to begin the construction process. Like this type of stuff has been going on for a very long time. And even, the Freemasonry with like the cornerstone, you set the cornerstone first, and it's like a ritual, like something for the building, and, time capsules. I mean, like I don't know, man, like we seem to be like neck deep in this shit. And, most people don't notice like it's happening, right? It's happening. I don't know, man. There's so much weirdness.
Yeah. Again, I just want to, for me, right, I like some of the stuff, like I said, for blood rituals and stuff like that. If, they're actually, the reason for that, I would say is that the ultimate reason is to giving yourself up for these entities that come inside you and be able to, more or less be you, because that's the one that I go to with at the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and that's Tablet 8, the Keys of Mystery. And again, that's where they talk about that these things move in the shadows, and they take over. They would kill a person and then take over their, and it's a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. It's like dark magic. They said that, men was looking for power. And by doing that, that's how they would do it. Because these things are from a different vibration. That's through, the average, like that Tablet 8. These things are from a different vibration. So they're not even from here. They're from, and the only way to be here is, through a sacrifice, a blood sacrifice. And that way they can come into this or our realm.
Yeah. So it is some sort of like Matt says, the devil makes short deals, and it is however you want to define the devil, it's an entity, it's an alien entity that is not human, is not from this realm, and so this is what they're trying to contact. These are the powers they're trying to achieve. Again, it's creepy, right? The whole thing's a little bit creepy. I mean, I'm pretty sure you don't do that on the weekends, right, Kelly? You're not trying to summon some weird shit with some blood magic on the weekends. I sense that vibe from you. That ain't your thing.
Well, not particularly right now, but what I'm saying is like some of the stuff that is, even through Sumerian, all that, some of that stuff that, it's weird because if you look at the thing I'm getting at, if you look at some of the statues that they had, like even through Sumerian, right, there was a reptilian looking. In Japanese, they have these little statues that were, they were reptilian looking, and they've had different statues that, they look like man or woman, but no, these things look like it's a reptilian looking form, And again, if you go into Mayan and Aztec, right, what are they, their god was Kukulkan and
Quetzalcoatl.
What was the other one? But yeah, Quetzalcoatl, and they're the flying serpent gods.
Yep.
So what, is it the thing that they're whatever they're flying that looks like that, or is it what these things look like? You know what I mean?
Yeah. And again, and we have a ton of history here that maybe suggests that those maybe are some of the entities. Crazy stuff, man. I love your takes. You gonna hang on? You're gonna bounce because we got a call right behind you. So if you're chill and gonna hang out, we'll take the phone call and can go back to you. But if you got to bounce, man, I understand. You tell me. We're flexible here.
I'll hang. If you don't care.
Yeah. Either way, you're welcome to stay. Okay, so hang tight. One moment. We're going to go to this phone call, and then we'll come back to you, Kelly. All right, so we got, looks like Barry in Florida. Welcome to the show, Barry. You're on Troubled Minds with Mike and Kelly. How are you, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing good. I just had one question. What's your opinion about Alex Jones and his thoughts on Bohemian Grove?
Clarify his thoughts for me. What is his take on Bohemian Grove?
Well, he has been very vivid and outspoken on Bohemian Grove over the past week and a half. Are you not incited on what he said over the past week?
No. So I'll tell you what I know about Alex Jones' Bohemian Grove. It goes back 20 years. So if he's talking about it recently, I haven't heard it. So fill me in.
Well, he was talking about his experience. It's very similar to 20 years ago whenever he did it. So the story hasn't changed on what his experience was, but it had to do, with the owl and sacrificing a child, not a real child, but everything else. But what are your thoughts on Bohemian Grove and the fake sacrificing people and being the wealthy class and everything else and everything that's going on?
Well, it's the same thought. It's the same thought as what I've been talking about with this John Dee stuff and the conjuring the British Empire. Any sort of blood magic ritual, period, or ritual magic without blood, either way, is terrifying to me because, again, we have the duality, meaning, look, is it real? If it's real, we're in some shit up to our neck, right? And they're actually like casting spells to actually whatever, like gain whatever in this worldly realm, all right? But then if it's not real, then we have these elites believing this shit is real and doing this shit anyway. And that's equally terrifying. I think that's down to the crux of it. That's Rohan's take, and I agree 100%. Like, it's creepy one way or the other. I don't know. I don't necessarily believe it's real, in my opinion. I think a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, once again, is that I think maybe we're open to suggestion of things. And so the suggestion ends up kind of culminating in our own mind making those things happen, sort of the Oedipus complex. If we never heard of it in the beginning, we would never culminate the end. That's my take on it. But I don't know. I don't have the answers. That's just a personal take in this moment. And as you know with me, I reserve the right to change my mind. There you go. There's my take. What about you?
No, well, I actually feel the same way, but I was wondering, how did you hear about Bohemian Grove?
Alex Jones.
Because I actually never, I was about to say, I never actually heard about it until that point of view. So whenever the topic comes up, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. So I just wanted to revisit that and see like if there was some sort of other outtake that was brought into this that could possibly change my mind about the situation. Because in my point of view, I think it's weird. The whole thing is weird. I don't like any of that sacrificial. I mean, but it's in a lot of cultures. But I don't personally like it and agree with it. I think it's bad juju. But I want to see what your thoughts were on the whole situation, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's it. There's a duality, and I think both are creepy, and that's that. That's that, my man. And we'll keep talking about this, as you know. Like, it's not one I like to go to too often, but it is the month of October, so maybe we'll do some more dark magic this month. We're going to be talking about spooky stuff. So, short of summoning demons on air, we're going to come maybe up to that point. And I'm just kidding, but there you go. I'd like to make fun of myself.
Go back to your other caller. I just wanted to know. I had to bring it back to the roots and kind of revisit. Like whenever I hear the words, I have to like revisit the whole situation without the gay frogs. But
yeah, right. Exactly. One thing real quick before you go. So what I did note about Alex Jones, he was on a podcast recently with Tim Dillon and Joe Rogan. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. I'll try and find it and link it in the down below here. If you guys haven't seen it, but he's talking about exactly that. I think Tim Dillon's a comedian, and they're talking about the initiation process.
Hold on, I got to cut you off. Yes, it is Tim Dillon, and this was when he was drinking. Currently, he's not drinking, and he was going into iodinized water, iodinized water, and sorry.
Who was Tim?
The fluoride in the water, mixing it out with iodine.
Oh, right.
But yes, when he was drinking heavily. So there has been further interviews when he's been sober. So
I see. So
I just wanted to put that there. The interview that you put out, there has been further interviews when he's been sober.
Which one, Alex Jones or Tim Dillon?
Alex Jones.
Okay.
Tim Dillon was on it was a hilarious one with Tim Dillon, but afterwards he's been on 2 or 3 podcasts.
Gotcha. Okay.
I'll let y'all look it up.
Okay.
Jones podcast. He was on Slightly Offensive with, I forgot the guy's name, and he was on Steven Crowder within the past week.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. Like, as you know, I don't have a ton of time to listen to that stuff because we're doing our own thing. So I wish I had more time to do that, but then we wouldn't be doing this. So thank you. I will follow up on that stuff and try and listen as I can. You're the best. Thanks for calling in, my friend. Barry in Florida. Have a fantastic night, my man.
Yep, no problem.
Thanks. All right. There you go. I don't know. I think, what are your thoughts on that, Kelly, on the Bohemian Grove and all that stuff? I'm not sure if you're, kind of following Alex Jones as closely as Barry is there, but there seems to be, something to it. More of that initiation process of, basically Alex Jones was describing it as a situation where they meet up to get dirt on each other. And so they're doing these terrible things, unspeakable things, and they do this in this setting, very much like the Bohemian Grove, where they do these horrible things, and then of course it's kind of like the blood in, blood out. And so if you turn on the group, the entire group is against you, and that's part of what's going on here. I don't know. What do you think about that, my man? If you're still there, Kelly in Colorado. Okay. All right. So Kelly's here, but he's muted. So here's what we're going to do. Real quick, I made a promise to a friend here. Oh, go ahead, Kelly. Sorry, man. I'm sure you heard me there.
Sorry, man. I was kind of unmuted, but
that's okay.
Yeah, man. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like this. If these are supposed to be people that's making the world go around, right? And we're talking leaders and money, all that shit. But why are they in secret? This ain't. I mean, they're saying that like, oh, we're just get together, have some fun. Hell no, man. That's got to be. That shit should be regulated, or they should be doing that shit in the open, not some crazy ass running through the trees, sacrificing a kid to Moloch. Some weird shit like that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. It's clearly some sort of ritual thing where they're trying to indoctrinate whoever into the group. And then, of course, right, we're talking about people that are rich and powerful. So what they do is once you're in that group and they have dirt, it means they can control you. It's about control, right? So even in the elite circles, they still try and control each other. Like, this game goes to the very, very top. It's crazy, man. It's crazy stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what. But they have for them, they were supposed to be actually more of like a code of brotherhood. I mean, a code of silence where see how mad that one guy was when what's his name, when Alex Jones told him that right to his face that, hey, yeah, that was me. And he was kind of he was felt very disrespected, because they hold some of that stuff in high regard, and it is because of secrets though, because if they all have to join while they're there, I don't know if they have to join with some of the activities, but if you're there, I mean, what is the whole point of even seeing all that shit though? You know what I mean? I mean, sacrifices and stuff like that to different gods. That's everybody else saying that's what like these so-called third world countries were doing. You know what I mean? Some weird ass devil shit is what like the Catholic Church was would be talking about. But again, with magic, real quick, I just wanted to say that well, we can go to the next caller. I don't want to get too deep into that.
Nobody behind you, man. Just us. Just us. If you want me to take over, I got a thing to talk about real quick. Unless you want to delve into that. Okay, here I got this. So I did make a promise to a friend that we're going to talk about this tonight, and I think it's important to this conversation. John Dee, check this out. This is crazy. Many don't know this, and I didn't know this until last night. Thank you, Rivers. Shout out to Rivers. John Dee was actually the original James Bond. Yeah, right? Yep. Here we go. Hold on. So here we go. I'm going to link this, and we're going to talk about this for just a second. Put it in the chat, and you guys can see what I'm saying here. But John Dee, again, like I said, we're going back to the very, very beginning here of 1593 is the date. John Dee was an occultist. He was an alchemist. He was a early scientist, okay? But here's the thing. This is from blog.bookstoretellyoui.com. I linked it in chat. Centuries before Ian Fleming would write James Bond into existence, another man signed letters with 007. That man, John Dee, was a mathematician, astronomer, and some say magician. He was also a trusted member of Queen Elizabeth I's court. Some historians say that Dee was a spy for Elizabeth, thus making him even more fitting inspiration for Ian Fleming's hero. And yeah, right. Dee had long been fascinated with astrology. In 1555, he created horoscopes for both Queen Mary and Princess Elizabeth. Though this wasn't necessarily an offense unto itself, he discussed Mary's horoscope with Elizabeth. Thus, Dee was arrested for attempting to calculate nativities, which was elevated to a charge of treason. It's not certain how Dee convinced the court of his innocence, but it may have to do with his supposed occult powers. After one man testified against John Dee, one of his children died and another was struck blind. Dee was released to the custody of the Catholic Bishop Bronner for religious examination. The two would form a strong relationship. Dee was actually quite religious. The following year, Dee presented an interesting proposal to Queen Mary. He suggested the foundation of a national library and requested funds to start the project. Mary rejected the plan as Dee set about building his own personal library. He amassed an incredible collection of rare books and manuscripts, one that far surpassed the collections of England's universities. Dee focused on mathematics, astronomy, alchemy, and the supernatural. Interesting. There you go. So there's more to this, of course, and probably too much to get into. Yeah, there's a number to call, Clayton. 702-957-1037. I'm going to type it in the chat. There you go. We're taking your phone call still. And the thing is this, though, right? So the original James Bond, so Ian Fleming, of course, wrote James Bond and that whole thing. And the original person to sign their name, or at least next to their name, was John Dee, this ritual occultist. 007. How about that? And Elizabeth was the original M. Thank you, Rivers, to add that. Queen Elizabeth was the original M, Elizabeth I. So everybody remembers M from the James Bond mythology, and that there's something to this, right? Again, history repeats itself. Nothing new under the sun and all the rest of that. Crazy, crazy stuff. I don't know. What do you think about that? I'm pretty sure you've never heard that. I hadn't known that until yesterday.
No, I have never even heard of that. That was kind of interesting.
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah, right.
Agreed. We got a couple calls coming in. So what else you got, Kelly? What else you got, my friend?
Let me see. I don't know, man. I would just listen to you. I kind of I just lost my train of thought too. So
that's okay. I do it every 3 minutes or so. It's all right. You're in good company, man. You're in good company. All right. So we'll go to the phone calls. Like I said, you're welcome to hang out if you like, and if you regain the train of thought, we'll pump you on here in just a sec. Let's go to. I'm not sure exactly who this is. This is a first-time caller, so let's go to. You're on Trouble Lines with Mike and Kelly. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear you now. What's your first name? Where are you calling from?
My name's Clayton, calling from Florida.
Clayton in Florida. Welcome to the show. What's on your mind tonight, my friend?
Hey, thank you. Well, I just had a negative run-in with another person on Discord, and I'm kind of aggravated because I just wanted to get this information out, and he kind of just kept cutting me off. So I just found a shill on Rockfin. Go figure.
Right on. Right. Wait. Okay. Go right ahead. What information you got to get out?
Have you looked into Tartaria?
No. I might know the name. Fill me in.
Okay, Tartaria is basically something they've lied about, the Cabal. It's a worldwide civilization that happened. Something happened about 200 or 300 years ago. I'm a history major too, by the way. Sorry. Nice. I'm trying to get it out. I was a little aggravated, so just give me a second to get my thoughts.
That's cool, man.
It was kind of rude what he did, so.
I'm not sure who you're talking about, but go right ahead. You're in good company here.
It's
just go right ahead.
Daugherty, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to call nobody out. Anyway,
all right.
So Tartaria is this worldwide civilization that supposedly existed about 400 years ago, I would say. But if you look back and you try to research music or art or anything, you're only going to go back about 250 years to find anybody where it started from. So something happened about 250 years ago to 300 years ago. Like, I'm talking people disappeared and then reappeared. Like, out of nowhere. Nobody's really sure. But like I said, look up Tartaria. And if anybody that's listening to this hasn't watched the documentary, The Lost History of Flat Earth, you absolutely must watch it if you want some real deep truth of this world.
Okay, gotcha. I got it up on the stream here. I found a link. Tartaria: The Mystery of an Empire Lost in History. So wait, can you explain just real quick before you go? You're welcome to stay, by the way. No, I
wasn't gonna go. I got time. If you got a little bit of time, there was something else I wanted to say, but go ahead.
Sure. That's why we do it. That's why we do the third hour and kind of no radio breaks and all that, so we can kind of flesh out the conversation, have time. Anyway, so I do have the link up. Tartaria. So you said the people vanished. How many people are we talking, and did they come back? You said they came back. Was it tens of years, dozens of years?
This is where I got to kind of explain things.
Okay.
Well, if you watch whatever we talk about, watch that. It's in like 8 parts, and the guy he's really awesome. But watch the Lost History of Flat Earth, but anyway, Tartaria, a civilization. Now, it actually correlates with the Bible. That's kind of why I said, I think earlier I might have said something about the Bible. So basically, people call it the mud flood that happened about 250 years ago. If you look at the pictures and look in Russia and all this stuff back then, all these magnificent buildings, I'm sure you've seen where they have cathedrals, they call them churches, and they have these big ornate organs in them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay. All of those were part of Tartaria, a worldwide civilization with free energy. They actually use something called red mercury. You'll have to look into all of this, but I've really researched it a lot. Okay, anyway, so it kind of lines up. There are 5 pagan historians in history, one of them being Josephus. Now, preterists will say from these 5 different historians that everything in the Bible has already happened. And I don't think quite so yet, because this is kind of what I was trying to get at. And it's kind of important to me because I do believe in God and all that stuff. But if you take into account Tartaria, and something happened where they disappeared, and they kept this from all of us. Like I'm telling you, they had a worldwide civilization, free power, living water. They used nothing but pure like electricity from the ionosphere. It's amazing once you really look into their technology. Okay, anyway, so that happened, and it seems like they disappeared, and then people came out of nowhere, and now we have this upside-down world. So can I read you something from the Bible real quick?
Sure, go right ahead.
Okay. So take into that account, just really take into account a disappearance and then people reappearing, okay?
Okay.
That's what I want y'all to take from what I'm about to read. Okay. Revelation 20, starting at 1. And I kind of read from this part. Probably could start lower, but it kind of adds into the 1,000 years. That basically what the historian said. I'm bouncing around. Anyway, the historian said that there were people who came to them in 66 A.D. that something happened when Israel was being invaded by Rome. That an amazing instant happened in the clouds, and everybody says that it's the prophecy that happened, and everything was fulfilled in the Bible, and Jesus came back. Well, what I'm saying is an impossibility. I'm just giving you information. I don't know for sure. I'm still trying to figure it out. But it lines up with the possibility that Christ came back at that moment, had 1,000 years. Satan was locked away. Okay, now I'm going to read. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more, till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that he must be loosed a little season. Just 2 more paragraphs. And I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them, and I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Jesus. And this is where it gets important. So this is where y'all need to listen. And for the word of God, and which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, nor had received his mark upon their foreheads. Now, keep in mind where I'm reading from, the mark has already happened. Keep in mind the jab. Upon their foreheads, or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Christ 1,000 years. Okay? But the rest of the dead lived not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection.
Interesting. Okay.
It keeps going on. I could keep reading it because there's also a second resurrection. But
let me ask real quick. Did you say real quick? Did you say the little season? Is that what that said?
Yes.
Which is
after the 1,000-year reign. So if Tartaria was the 1,000-year reign of Christ, basically what is a possibility I'm saying is I don't know for sure. It lines up with Tartaria. That's all I'm saying. That when Christ came, Satan was locked away for 1,000 years. Now God, because he's the accuser, Satan is the accuser, he had to release him after that. There has to be people here, but God probably wouldn't leave people in Tartaria and his own people. But there had to be people here for Satan to deceive. But I think the people that we came from Tartaria, were the people that either didn't know about Christ and died at a certain point in time, or not necessarily, maybe rebuked him and getting a second chance, something like that. So basically it said, everybody in Christ, the dead in Christ, whoever died believing in Christ, after Tartaria, whatever, they left, Satan was released. I only think that mostly because of Tartaria, and everything is Satanist now. It's like our whole world is upside down.
Yes, upside down.
It is completely inverted, and it lines up with Satan being released.
Yeah.
And if you look back where it all started, our history has only started from about 250 years ago, 300 years, our current history. Now, I think what they did was they took history. They didn't just recreate all of our history. They took the Bible, they took some of the history, and they ruined the times. They just split it all up. I think the 1,000-year reign may have happened about 1,400 years ago. 1,000-year happened about 300 years ago or so. The mud flood happened, and they took control.
Okay.
Satan took control.
Clayton, fantastic stuff. Look, I've heard The Little Season recently. A good friend of ours from the channel Algorithm, just like it sounds, a space in between on YouTube, was talking about The Little Season and that Satan was released and to kind of run amok and do his thing. And I'd first heard of it like a week ago. And here you are, like literally bringing it up kind of out of context without that in particular.
Synchronicity, man.
Yeah, I'm telling you. So here's what I'm going to do. So we're kind of at the end of the show here, so we don't have a ton of time to get into Tartaria. But what I'll do, I promise you this, in the coming days, future, sometime in October, we'll do a show on Tartaria, okay? I'll look into this and we'll kind of discuss some of this stuff. And you're, as you know, you're welcome back anytime. You know the number to call. Hop on the Discord. Sorry for the bad experience. I can't speak for everybody, but for the most part, we have a good group here. Amazing shit. Thank you. How'd you find us? I'm pretty sure you found us on Rockfin, right?
Yeah, I'm on Rockfin. I just kind of bounce around, and I've listened to you a couple of times, and I just kind of came here after all that happened. See, I was trying to get through that with his name's Jeffrey Daugherty, and he's on Rockfin, but he calls himself the Christian whistleblower. But I was kind of hoping to give him a little bit of something to talk, but he wouldn't let me get through 4 and 5. He cut me off 3 different times, and 4 and 5 were the most important part. Was about the resurrection, and when I was talking about Tartaria, but it was just like, oh, we're not gonna talk about the Bible and shit. And I'm like, so yeah, I called. I'm glad I called, because I want this information out. What the truth is, I'm not telling you what to believe. I just want to know the truth. That's it. That's all I'm ever looking for.
Yeah.
I'm the history major. Went to school for it, so I will definitely talk about anything you want.
You are in the right place, my friend. I'm not trying to make anybody believe anything either. We're just here having a conversation, considering the possibilities.
I just want information.
There you go, brother.
What you do with that information is up to you.
Up to you. It's a personal thing. You're in the right place. Clayton, thank you so much for calling, first-time caller. I look forward to hearing from you in the future. I promise you, in the month of October, we will do a show on Tartaria, okay?
Absolutely. Every time you're on now, man, I'll jump on and say hey and stuff, for sure.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate the call. Fantastic meeting you. We'll talk to you soon. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Everybody have a good night. God bless.
Thanks, man. You too. There we go. Simple as that. You want to be part of the show? Give us a call. And any take on that, Kelly? I don't know if you've heard of Tartaria before, or that's new to me. It's a new thought. I've heard the term, but I thought it was a Greek, like a Greek mythology term. Apparently not. Apparently it's something else.
Well, no, I have not heard of Tartaria, and the story of it anyways. But if it is a Greek term, you got to understand too, though, Greek, I think it was the Greeks were, or, a lot of that stuff was, Greek was in Egypt and stuff like that. That's where a lot of the Christianity supposedly started from. But yeah, I mean, you'll find a lot of that stuff through there. But no, I've never heard of Tartaria. I mean, that's kind of new to me too, as well. Yeah. I don't know. It kind of sounds like they talk about the people before Christ. So I don't know, man. Some of those words, I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't know, man, because it just makes me. The only question I have is, so what about the people that were before Christ? That died before him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. There's a lot to that.
It's just a weird. It's just one question to have. It's just, But yeah, anything besides that, though, I don't want to be, like I said, people believe in whatever, and that's good. People have beliefs and all kinds of stuff. So, that's always welcome, whatever. But that's cool.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. And again, right, we're pretty, Kelly and I, we're pretty deep into the rabbit hole. And so there's a lot of things that we haven't really, like it's rare to run something by us we haven't heard of. And he just did the Tartaria stuff. So we'll dig into that, Kelly. We'll, if you want to do your own research there, I'll do a little bit too. And if you want to reconvene at some point this month, we'll get back together and talk about that. Seems pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I'm going to be checking it. That's the same thing he was talking about with the red mercury, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, red mercury. I've heard that from Chance as a Ghost. Yep.
Yeah, I took a little bit of notes on it, but I was... Hey, what was the one thing I think it was Jennifer was saying? It was called Seraphim. Was that it? Seraphim?
Seraphim, yep. Seraphim.
Oh, PH.
Yeah, PH. It's biblical. It's so basically they had different levels, structures of angels, the cherubim, the seraphim, and that bit. And so the chorus, as it were, the beginning. And so there are different entities, the different levels of angels, and that's one of them, the seraphim. Different entities.
Yeah, I remember. Okay, now I remember now.
Yeah.
I just had I wanted to question it because I was like, yeah, it hit me somewhere. I was like, I know it hit her from somewhere, but it just took me a minute.
Yep, no good. All good. Okay, so we're gonna go to Russ here real quick, and then we're gonna wrap this up. And any other thoughts on this, Kelly? I know we've been talking a little bit here, but like I said, I hate to milk every thought from you guys, but it's what makes the conversation fascinating. You know, we kind of go down different rabbit holes as we discuss this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, no, like, it's, a lot of that stuff too, even like with biblical, man, and I try to touch on a lot of religions too when I do, there's a lot of my research too, because you have to, that's some of the, even if it is written tell, you gotta, it's got to come from somewhere, and a lot of stuff you could see just passed down through history. I just got to see, because not maybe sometimes you'll hear different stories, so I have to, like this is a new one to me, so I have to jump on that one and see, what was that one about.
Yep.
So I find it very interesting too, because religions, man, they because sometimes it's for me it's add stuff too, because if you go back in history, even further back, you find it fascinating where, so a lot of these people collide with each other. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I like it. But it's a lot of information though, especially when you have when you break it down and stuff like that, like the Bible does. So it's that one's there's a lot of pages in that one.
Yeah, no shit, right? There's a lot, and that's not the only one that has a lot of pages. So we're trying to figure things out. But you're right. There's a lot of overlap with a lot of these religions and some of the concepts. And I think the thing that's fascinating about religion is it's actually that overlap is larger concepts than the religion itself, right? I'm going to get to you just a sec. Chill, Russ. We'll be right there, man. So I don't know. I think that's the thing. Like with this religious stuff, right? Different doctrines and whatnot. The conversation is kind of larger than the doctrine itself, and that's what's fascinating to me. So okay. So we got Ross. We're going to take this phone call, and then we're going to finish this up. You want to hang tight, or you want to bounce, Kelly? Up to you, man. As you know, you're welcome to stay.
No, man. Best part.
Okay, here we go. Let's go to Russ in Florida one more time. What's up, buddy? What's on your mind?
Oh, nothing's on my mind. I said don't answer. I was just trying to find the Discord.
Oh, you're in the Discord. You were in the Discord. You pop in and out a few times there. What's up? What's up?
I was waiting for the after party, like just to chat.
Oh, I see. Okay, it's coming. It's coming. So you are in the Discord. I saw you jump in the We're Not Experts. Jump in the We're Not Experts channel, and folks will be there shortly after. All right. What else? What other thoughts you got on this the show tonight?
Nothing much. I mean, I already brought up the facts about Alex Jones and the Bohemian Grove, and that was pretty much it. But I was waiting to get into like the Discord to talk.
All right, cool. Yeah. After the show, there should be people there. No guarantees because I can't twist everybody's arm and make them be there. But that's where folks will be. Jump into the We're Not Experts, and we'll see you there. Thanks, Russ, in Florida. We'll talk to you and talk to you soon here, okay? Okay. Have a great night. There you go. All right. Let's wrap this up. There's a lot here. We kind of covered a lot of ground tonight. So, not to get into more rabbit holes and kind of chase this stuff around. It ends up, like 3 hours blows by because you get smart people together, kind of bringing out different theories on this stuff. And there's a lot. It's a lot. You just can't chase down every lead, as it were, because you end up without any coherent show or story here. But I don't know. Thoughts on all the rest of this, Kelly? Blood magic, ritual summonings, changing world history with magic, any of this type of thing? I mean, shit, right? Like it's terrifying if it's real. I think that's what it comes down to for me.
Yeah, for me, I find that magic is real. You know what I mean? But there's difference between magics and magic, because magic could be used for like an everyday use. You know what I mean? And the people that I would find in the ancient times, they would have. They were more in tune with like the planet Earth, you know what I mean? So we're more now into the cities wearing tennis shoes and shit like that. We used to be running through the jungle or even through the forest, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, for me, that's what I see as like what the human was doing at the time, But anyway, to the point is just, I don't know. Man, I lost train of thought big time on that one, dude.
Like I said, welcome to my life. Every 3 minutes, I'm trying to get the thread back. It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just because, like, all right. So with magic, right? So that's the point I was getting at. Is that we were daily thing, but if you're doing curses, that's a whole different thing. Something else, And if you're using blood magic, for me, and like I said, some of this that you will find, for me, I would believe it's something even more. You know what I mean? It's more powerful. It's something that you shouldn't be. If you're using that, then it's going to be, for a reason. And who knows what the reasons might be? That it could be more sinister than we would hope for, but or hope for less anyway, but still, I don't know, man. For me, is blood magic is and magic, in itself, and it could be some stuff that we don't even know, that technology can't even wrap itself, mind around. It's something that we haven't never seen, and it could be just it could be even just more technology we haven't seen, but.
Yeah, right. The premise is magic is undiscovered technology, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows? So, but if we're talking like changing worlds and stuff like that, that's kind of that's kind of mind blowing, man. I don't know even wrap my mind around that one either.
Yeah, so, it's a big implication, isn't it? It's definitely huge, and so like again, we'll see if there's some other threads like this, like Derek in Massachusetts brought up. The Night Stalker said, that maybe America is a ritual culmination of things too. So maybe we'll look into that and maybe do that as an addendum piece to this. But yeah, lots here to talk about. Can you change the world with magic? Like not just like your own reality, but the reality of the globe itself. And I say globe, I know we got flat earthers here, so you know what I mean. Whatever it is you believe, it's all good. So okay, let's do it. We got Jay here. Jay, welcome to the show. You're here with Mike and Kelly. Let's do this. What are your thoughts on this, my man? Jay in New York.
Mute. I'm sorry, I didn't unmute.
That's okay.
I was rattling on.
I do it to myself. Welcome to the show. What's up, brother?
This is creepy. I look back, some of the things that Bunny has on her channel with the rituals that they're doing at CERN and the stuff that they say that they're doing before they go to space and all that. It's unbelievably creepy. And then it throws me down that, the people talking about Alex Jones there, that throws me into that 17th letter stuff that I don't know should wait until, 5 minutes from now. Just to keep the bots at bay. I don't know. I look at it and it's just, there's so much stuff like that going on. I mean, I remember when we were kids, you were reading in the magazines and stuff about that Bohemian Grove, and there was never anything good about it. And
the same little conspiracies that were going on then are still going on now. And then, like Kelly was saying, with the Aztecs and stuff like that, those guys let a lot of blood. What were they doing with why are the blood rituals and everything else like that? And then the thing with 007 and all that today, I was like, well, come on, dude, that messed me up, man. That guy was kind of my hero. Now it's all into the black magic stuff because I don't know. I think that there's, things that we shouldn't play with, and that's probably one of them, using that kind of magic to create your own power and keep your own power. That's right up there with evil. And then I don't know if that was Ross that was talking about the implications with the Bible that were all new too. That
Clayton.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Clayton. I'm sorry, Clayton. I was really interested in what you had to say.
You're allowed.
That was some good stuff. But just, have we really gone this far? Is that where we are? I mean, like you were talking about with, Rowan, if we've gone that too far, we're basically screwed.
Yeah, it's a heavy.
I remember reading.
It's heavy. Yeah.
There was a thing I remember reading in some of the along with all the Mason books that I got, there were a whole bunch of Protestant books that were basically denouncing Freemasonry and the evilness of it and stuff like that. A big movement. And one of the things is we were part of a 250-year experiment. Was the United States is part of a 250-year experiment that, for whatever reason, the evil of the Masons would have their reign for that period of time, and then the good would take back over. So it's terrifying to me that, we hear these things that are the little stories that come out, from the people that call in and stuff like that. It all comes together, and it just, I don't know. Well, it's Halloween, so we're supposed to be scared and tell scary stories and all that whatnot, right?
We're supposed to creep each other out. Why not? Why the fuck not? Yeah, why not, Jay? It's all good. And again, like I said, this is not doom and gloom. Troubled Minds is about having a troubled mind and looking to the future with a positive frame and rose-colored glasses, as it were. And so if it means the bitter end to the gates of hell, well, so be it. We'll go with our chin up and our dukes out, and that's the way it goes, right? So it's about being positive. We're talking about negative things sometimes and some weirdness, but I don't think we should be scared. I think that's the bottom line here is, like the fight is against fear. And so I think that we should be afraid, or we should not be afraid of the things they tell us as they dump the fear in the into the zeitgeist, right? I mean, that's what we're fighting. You turn on, again, you turn on the COVID, CNN and whatnot, and they got COVID deaths like it's a goddamn basketball game, Like it's like, oh, we got 2 more died in Massachusetts and 1 more died in, North Dakota. And it's like, get the fuck out of here, Like, we don't need like a daily ticker on deaths. That's just bullshit, Anyway, yeah. Let's not be afraid.
Well, the good thing about that is, we're not talking about the deaths now anymore as much as we're talking about, the cases, and hopefully those are people that are just walking around with the sniffles, and not really sick. So, I think, you're right. The positive energy is going to get us, we got to keep it, whatever we got to do to fight to keep it and work that way.
Amen, brother. Amen.
Try to be the good,
Amen, brother.
Be the good.
Amen, brother. I got a quote here from Kelly. This is it. You are a ghost driving a meat-coated skeleton made from stardust, riding a rock, floating through space. Fear nothing. Thanks, Kelly. There you go.
I love it. We can leave it at that. That's it.
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, guys. All right, Kelly. Let's wrap this up. What's up, brother? Let's do it.
No, man. All right. I'll just I don't know. Just be aware of everything. I know it's not be throw fear or anything out there, but I like to be informed.
Amen.
So for example, just real quick, it's like the Bohemian Grove I know a bunch of billionaires and so-called leaders of countries are not meeting all together for the benefit of our health. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So just be aware, man, and just help your friendly neighbor. Take care of yourself.
There you go. Amen. Amen to that. You got a quote for us, Jay? Let's rock this, brother.
I do.
All right.
To walk the red road. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
To walk the red road, you have less fear of being wrong because you know that life is a journey, a continuous cycle, a sacred hoop. Mistakes will be made, and mistakes can be corrected if you will be humble. Or if you cannot be humble, you will never know when you have made a mistake. I don't know who that is. It's an Indian proverb of some sort.
Nice. Nice. Fantastic. Yeah. Great shit as always, my man.
That's what I agree with Kelly. Help your neighbors. Do something nice for somebody you don't know. Pass out some hugs with your mask on and wash your hands after.
There you go. Don't be afraid. Don't let the fear get you.
Yes, do not be afraid.
Do not be afraid. All right, so as we finish, this is the deal, right? The bad news is we're done for tonight. The good news is, God willing, we've got tomorrow. We'll be back at 7 p.m. Pacific, and we'll be talking about more crazy stuff. We got a paranormal show coming this week. It's going to happen tomorrow or Thursday. Looking for your ghost stories. If you guys have actual ghost stories or theories on different things, I'll try and find a ghost angle we can talk about. We'll get with James, maybe get him on the show, and or maybe next week or the following week, we got a show coming up with James from Salcedo Paranormal. Do check out his podcast. He does 3 times a week, just paranormal stuff. So the link is down below. Check him out. He'll be on the show sometime coming up, but that's what's up. As we finish, I said it once before, I'll say it again. Thanks, Kelly. Thanks, Jay. I appreciate all the calls tonight. Thank you all for being here and hanging out with us. Thanks for the first-time callers. We had a couple of those. And thanks for finding us. Thanks for enjoying a conversation where there's no truth. Subjective truth is the only truth anymore. And if we have our own truth, they seem to think we're dangerous. And I don't like that. And that's why we're going to keep talking about this stuff. All right, let's get the hell out of here. As we finish, see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Be sure, be strong, be true. I'm honored by all you hanging out and spending your time with us when you could be doing a million other things. Thank you so much. From our troubled minds to yours, thank you for listening. Have a great night. Time to howl, guys. We're out of here. Anything else?
No. Ow. Ow. I do. I sound like a wet chihuahua. I really.
You got to back off the mic and then do it from your belly. Go. Ow. Like that. All right. We're out of here. We're out of here. Jay, we'll catch you guys in the after show chat. Jump in the I'm not an expert, and we'll catch you there in the Discord, troubledminds.org. Click the Discord link, and let's get the hell out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a fantastic evening.